bun și ieftin, cum ar spune Mario Greuțu. Salut, Saidu, salut, Dariuțu, arată-ți fața. Asta e fața mea. Ce, băi, nu mă credeți că e fața mea? Hai, mă. Adevărată față? Pe asta e adevărată față. Se aude asta normal. Am totul pregătit. Sper că nu o să se audă dintr-o dată un sunet random. Nu să ai dox. Ce top credeți că ia zAndy azi? Ce top credeți? Șapte. $40, nici măcar nu există 40 de echipe. Bine că a băgat ăștia reclamă. Fix acum. Sper că se... ok, urăsc Twitch-ul. Stați așa cea că au băgat ăștia de la Fortnite reclamă și dacă nu ești pe live se pune în pauză la reclamă. Ok, n-a început. Mersi de subscribe. Și vreau să văd 10 like-uri acum. Ce e asta? Ce e asta? N-avem 10 like-uri? Mi se pare urât. Mi se pare urât. Zici că mă antrenez, zici că eu mă ajut la fână, că să... Ma, decât 10.000 de oameni se uită pe live-ul de la Fortnite. Bro. Am primit reclamă pe Twitch de 2 minute. Și pe Twitch nu poți să dai skip la reclame. Cea mai mare porcărie. Și nici nu poți să dai alt tab. Aia nu ne mai uităm la MrSavage. Ce vrei să ne uităm mai la live oficial de la Fortnite sau... și de la cei care joacă. Ia să dau așa un live și pe TikTok. Sper că nu mă pune să mă conectez fără niciun sens. Să-i dus vrei bloc? Ia, go live. Nu o să citesc live-ul de pe TikTok, aia e. Anyone. De fapt o să-l citesc, că mai dau alt tab. Random. Cereza aici e normală. Stai, doc, știu și eu, n-am nevoie de ajutorul tău. Nu am nevoie de ajutorul tău. Ok, nu înțeleg TikTok-ul ăsta deloc. Cei de pe TikTok o să închid cel mai probabil live-ul la un moment dat, așa că intră pe YouTube. Ia, au început ăștia. Nu. Chat, spuneți-mi și mie. De ăștia care se joacă, care fac live de la turneu. De ăștia care fac live de la turneu. Fortnite. Cine e Reason Live? Nu s-a calificat Reason. What? Mă, ce? No way. El chiar nu cred că nu s-a calificat. Cum naiba un neamț nu s-a calificat? Vadil s-a calificat? Vedem mai încolo. Vedem mai încolo. Vadile pe America. S-a mutat în America. Stai, nu am nevoie de nimic, dacă vrei doar îți dau bloc și zi-mi că îți dau. Ceea ce facem 20 de minute. Ce facem cea 20 de minute? Ce e live ăsta? Mamă, nu faci nici money maker? Ce de pe TikTok nu mai scrieți că nu citești chat-ul, intrați pe YouTube. Nu pot să citesc ambele chat-uri în același timp. Și o să-l închid pe TikTok curând. Cred că mai bine pun un text. Stați așa. Încarcă-te! Mamă, ce porcărie TikTok-ul ăsta. Deci 2 puncte. Bun. Ce doream să mă joc? Asta. De ce nu-mi spuneți că am pus asta pe mut? De ce nu-mi spuneți că e pe mut? Hai mă, zi, te rog, că nu ești AFK. Te rog, mori. Slab. Slab. Cine se crede? Nu mi-a construit, s-a văzut foarte clar că nu s-a construit. Nu mi-a dat edit. Nu mi-a construit. Ok. Nu vrea să facă Fortnite-ul ce zic eu. A început live-ul. De fapt, erau deja live. Bă, de ce nu spuneți că a început? De ce nu mă anunță nimeni? Să vă fie rușine. Sau n-a început și mi-am luat țeapă. Da, cred că a început. Pare că a început. Stați. Cei de pe TikTok o să închid live-ul de pe YouTube. Vă pup. Bun. Închid ăsta rapid. Și dăm drumul. Se aude? Da, se aude.
Score 1-0 to the Frenchies. We'll see how that strike back.
Bun, sper că pot să mă uit la un live.
on, but shifting things on over here in
Doar
Seaport
16.000
City, we
de oameni,
do see the
Seito.
map has in fact not held true. Queasy's trio has taken over.
Yeah, we talked about this. Were they really going to drop at Kappa Kappa Canyon, or are they going to go back to their roots as we head back on over to the brutal boxcars as Mappy, Cringe, and Cade have a difficult situation? I'm trying to see in terms of elimination advantages, though. Cade does have an elim, so although in terms of heals, in terms of shields, they don't look too healthy, they do have that player advantage. But Uik has got to be careful as Teeny has gone down, but it doesn't matter because Skavi and Haris have finished this fight off at Shogun's Solitude.
And the nice thing about those eliminations taking place at
Teeny
Shogun's,
more.
they're so far southwest, so far out of the rest of the action. They have got to be quick still with making this reboot play for Teeny, because there could be trouble on the horizon brewing from that bird location. Caught a glimpse of it just now, but Savage's trio is bound to have caught wind of what just took place at Shogun's.
Oh yeah, looking at Warriors Watch as well. There are, as you can see, trios contesting each other, and Savage dropping so close by. It could be an opportunity for them to get some tags, especially if these fights take longer than expected. As we look at Predator right now on the elevated position here, trying to crouch around to see if they can get a sneaky angle onto one of the opponents. That initial
Naiba,
pump
știi,
shot
dați-mi
can
și
be
noi alți
enough
player, n-am auzit
to
de
take
ăștia în
home the
viața
fight.
mea.
I like this positioning right now, though, from Pradaj and Radion. They're also trying to keep a viewpoint on that mountain range, make sure that no one is trying to third party this exchange either. Pradaj knows that it is all too easy for, say, the likes of any of those mountain teams to essentially scroll on over, but they're also just so patient. But when you spend this much time without finding eliminations, Takada, could be trouble.
Yeah, in the early game, it's all about efficiency, right? And these trios are using up a lot of time for this battle. Looking at Franek, Kaisers, and Dynus, this trio actually that Rax
Mă vreau
is
alții,
going
n-am
against.
auzit de
It's
ăștia în
their first
viața mea.
FNCS
Ce pot să
major
zic de ăștia
finals,
de
so
care
a
n-am
lot of
auzit
pressure is on the
niciodată?
line, which is why
Nu
they
am
need to
ce
be playing
să
a little
zic.
bit more scared per se. As we look at Lucy here,
Nici pe ăștia nu-i
who
știu.
looks like, in terms of Pixovsky and his trio at Hopeful Heights, I was wondering how this engagement would play out. But so far, a fight is going to be commencing. Oni Mask is going to be attempted to escape, but with just 21 HP, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to get out. But the good news is at least one player made it.
Surely Lucy, Loki, and Monet, though, are not content
Ce-a
with
fost
allowing
aia?
Adams to survive in that scenario. It'd be a lot more likely to
Ia și tu
anticipate potential
spiridușul
camping
ăla,
of those
dacă se
reboot cards
poate.
instead. You know it's a solo, you know he's going to be really easy to pick off, but they might not even give him the chance. In fact, Lucy, Loki, Monet, all too easily closing in. They've already got one. Going for the full eliminations, not possible just yet. Managed to hide behind the body, but Monet closes that gap, no problem with those Oni masks. Still, one more left to go.
Gonna regroup now, see if they can get a bit of space here. So interesting, the whole battle that's commencing on this east side of the map. I mean, there's what, at least 3-4 trios contesting each other back to back. So it really just comes down to third party in these engagements and staying
În
up.
sfârșit,
And look,
acțiune.
the big talks
Vico,
in the
Veno.
lobby. Vico, Veno, Flixie already getting aggressive as they look for a wall retake here. Any option to get those couple eliminations to start this one off.
This is huge, though. This is not a place that you would necessarily expect to see Vico, Veno, and Flixie so soon. Upple's team now doing what they can to try and survive. Upple nearly getting a peek, but he's gonna whiff. Doesn't get the shot that he needs onto Vico, and Vico still continuing to hammer away with that pressure. Wants to ensure that Upple has his options for escape cut off.
No full commits
Ce-a
are
vreți
coming through.
melodie
As you
pe
can see,
fundal
Veno
sau
is
nu?
still playing fully elevated, even looking at the surroundings, trying to kind of push away any potential third party as Finnick is trying to get shots as they kind of just take these back and forths in somewhat of a soft engagement, not fully committing yet.
Finchek knows he's got to be able to provide some sort of supportive measures here, especially once one of his teammates gets so cracked. But Vico, just so healthy, can continue to apply so much pressure against Finchek, trying to get this right side peak angle opened up here. Instead, going to look for a reposition because it appears as though another third party has decided to tango with the mix. It's Clownski and Moneymaker, and they're cutting off the positional options right now for Venom.
Ma, ce-ai făcut Veno?
Veno's now cracked. This could be tragic for the leading trio going on into this match, as Veno is going to do a good job of regrouping. This was key. Veno was staying up top elevated the whole time, so he could see this third party come through, which gave him that time to react. And it looks like Vico might have even been able to take out Clown. I saw a big pump shot come through, but no knocks, no eliminations yet as they continue to go on up.
From hunter to hunted, Clownski just barely gonna manage to escape with his life, but it might just be a temporary relief. Vico already looking to give chase. Moneymaker incredibly low as well. What initially looked like such a promising option for Surge has now turned entirely against them. Veno, Flixie, Vico just continuing with their onset of a barrage up against the likes of Moneymaker's team.
Now looking to see if they can get any connects with the AR. They're not in zone, but this isn't an issue for this trio. The good news is they are going to kind of disengage a little because they've already gotten so much damage, not only from that initial pump, but from the trades they had before in that engagement. So no need to kind of continue the pursuit, as now they can refocus up on getting back into zone.
That Surge, wouldn't be surprised to see them even venture back towards Flooded Frogs. They are fairly notorious for liking to double back to their starting point, just knowing how much loot is likely still left over. Gerbe, Noms, and Rizoi, though,
Ce mai dați și voi live, altfel mâine nu mai facem live.
Fishing rods to Kata, but with the way that the zone is pooling, it might be difficult for them to actually find opportunities to actually get those fish online, because teams already situated deeper inside of the zone are bound to try and hold edge when they know that there's water spots approaching for other teams to fish at.
On the other side, you got trios like Payson, Trulex, and Chicho, who don't have to worry about being in zone because they're so central on the map already. This is a trio that have consistently, like mentioned was Levening, gotten to the top 10. They can make it to end games. They've got their surge strategy down. They've got their rotates down, but it's all about improving that end game playstyle, being able to secure the win, not only making it, but getting what truly matters to take home a trophy in a major finals of this caliber.
This is another team, though, that's really been the talk of the town as of late. Wox specifically, just recently having moved directly towards France, so now he's actually going to be in a zero ping location, and zero ping Wox has been delivering to Kata. It has been impressive to see the way that his overall performance seemed to really just shot through the roof as of late. And that's not to say that he was doing poorly before either. I mean, Ping and Malabuka, with those guys by his side, this is a trio that seems like it's really firing off in all the right ways in every direction.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna love to see this trio get fraggy in endgame. As, you know, having uncontested night shift and so many trios fighting in the surrounding area, they're gonna kind of look for those third parties, get that early game surge, but we'll see how that continues forward, as now Sky, Scroll, and iDrop might be in, I was gonna say a pickle, but it seems like they are actually the aggressors in this situation. It's Monet, it's Lucy, who are kind of trying to run away here.
The problem for Lucy and Monet is that they opted for such a deep south approach to third-party the teams at Hopeful Heights that now they're making an approach that has to push directly into where Scroll, iDrop, and Sky already have the luxury of setting up to cut them off in advance. So with that in mind, iDrop, Sky, Scroll, they're just going to keep probably following this edge of zone as long as they know that there's a team back there continuously having to take more and more of those steady ticks of zone or storm. It's just going to pose even bigger issues for Lucy's team that are going to be all too easy for iDrop to capitalize on.
zAndy.
Yeah, and not only that, they need to reboot their trio, right? They need to get another member back in the game, so finding a way to not only get back into the storm, but have an opening to bring your trio back with iDrop, Sky, and Scroll just looking back at zone is going to be incredibly difficult. I even see Pixie, Marius, and Vanya here on the other end looking quite healthy here.
Cat Matt's definitely a really solid position to be, especially hanging out around here. Mass Meadows can't say the same though for Moneymaker. Just watched his demise there in 4K. Gutenberg now trying to do what he can to survive, keep these Lobby 1 dreams going, but Wox, Malabuka, Ping, they know exactly how easy this is.
Gutenberg is done for. Not a single chance of getting out of the dragon's sight. Malabuka walks ping, gonna clean that one up incredibly fast. And just like we were mentioning previously, now that Malabuka not only had all the loot from Night Shift on Con, they were able to find 3 eliminations going, whether it be a third part or even just hunting down a trio. And now they can play on congested side. They can get to the late game looted, and they can start getting fraggy when they need to, as we switch on over to MrSavage, Mongrel, and Panzer, who also already have 1 elimination on the board.
An elevated position, though, on the mountain span that overlooks Canyon Crossing. And one big thing for MrSavage is that coming out of Bird uncontested, they're going to have to make up for that surge elsewhere. Mongrel, on the other hand, this could be a huge problem. Fax trying to see if he can run him down.
Eu nu înțeleg de ce MrSavage se mai joacă cu Mongrel.
To rebuild hard builds here to keep Mongrel alive, apply the pressure onto the opponents, onto the aggressors, give Mongrel time to recuperate his shield, and just like that, it was enough time. Radion's now been cracked. Rax getting some shots in as well. This is perfect for MrSavage, Mongrel, and Panzer. With a little bit more time to breathe, now they can recuperate the shield that they have lost.
Things still don't look great, though, for Panzer. MrSavage, really the only one that's relatively healthy. He's trying to get a big chunk out of Fortage's HP and does succeed. Fortage now realizing the kind of dire measures he's in, doing what he can, dropping as much as possible. Knows that he needs to create a little bit of space here, needs a chance to try and regroup with the rest of his team, but MrSavage, Panzer, Mongrel, they need to close this one out. The issue is Mongrel just doesn't have whites that he can recuperate with, and now they're drawing a little bit too much attention.
No whites, no knocks, and as you were alluding to at the bottom right on the minimap, you can see a whole other trio is getting closer. They heard the noise, they heard the shots, and said, you know, I'm interested. I need some damage. What's going on over here? As now they're gonna have to quickly decide what's the play here. We need to find whites. We need to get to a safe location so we can recuperate this shield we've lost. It's not worth it to stay aggressive.
They also just don't have mats. And they spent so much time taking that fight on the mountain. They're burning through their mats, and yet there's no bodies for them to loot. They didn't find those eliminations that they needed, those crucial refreshes. So their mid-game now looking a little bit worse, but it's not something that they can't recover from. It's just they know that there's going to be a fight that they're going to have to commit to at some point soon, as Marius taking full advantage of all the advantages Shogun's Arena has to offer.
We've talked about this Rift Island that has Shogun's Arena on it. Not only are you able to get the medallion if you take down the boss, if the zone does end up closing around this arena, you get free moving zones where you don't have to use mats. You get a 360 first class ticket to the whole lobby in terms of looking for surge tags. You have so many openings, you get so many advantages. So being able to hold on to that island is very beneficial as we go back on over to Queasy, Swizzy, and Merstash, who are still inside.
Queasy cu Merstash.
And for this trio, there were such high expectations, conned or unconned. When it comes to an IGL like Queasy, people just expect him to be able to manifest greatness from anywhere, especially after that global championship performance. Arguably one of the only individuals in this lobby that was able to give a contentious run for that first place position. And here he is again, trying to make it all happen, all odds against him, and he will never care.
Mă, 4 chili-ceaguri, eu nu găsesc 4 chili-ceaguri în 10 meciuri, dar Sky găsește într-un meci.
Kind of split right by a bunch of other trios that are contested, and seeing how quickly they can kind of go from looting their drop spot to instantly looking for a third party, it gives them kind of that advantage of having so many openings for tags that now they're put in a position where they're 630 above surge. They're in a good uncongested side of zone, and they can play incredibly safe, but Shxrk on the other end is gonna pick up a knock, was below surge, now instantly bumping himself up 267 above. zAndy's cracked, Jew is cracked, Shxrk is the only player that even has a sliver of shield, as now they have to take some time to recuperate it.
But Pixovsky, he's recognized the fact there's another team on higher
Is
elevation
mort?
that's still
Nu
choosing
e.
to spray
Unde e?
into the box fight that's taking place right
Chiară?
in front of his face. Shxrk aligned
Ce e
with
asta?
this team yet again, hoping, but it's Rads who's in the real pressure mountain, trying to scramble around these edges, and he manages to finally break into the box, but Ju doing everything to make sure that he doesn't go down just yet.
56 below, doing what they can, but the shots are coming through. Triple spray is just too strong. You got to keep holding your builds, and shots are slipping through. Water Sprite now being forced as the storm surge starts ticking and not even being in zone with the pressure being applied back onto them. Pixovsky and his trio have to find a way to get out, but it's Veno, it's Flixi, it's Vico, the trio in the zone that is applying that pressure. This is going to be absolute chaos.
And Flexi, they need
Nu
this.
au
They
nici
were just below
ăștia,
surge as
nu
well.
te
You can
cred.
see the charges hitting their HP bars.
are
But Flexi,
zAndy.
he just needs to find another shot to connect. Finally going to be 37 above. Veno knows though they can't stick
Bravo,
around for too long.
zAndy,
They're going to
mamă,
get
Graal
lobbied
și
if they don't
MrSavage.
position elsewhere. And finally managing to work their way in. But they are definitely looking pretty tough here, Takata. And with a healthy MrSavage on the horizon, who's also likely desperate for a fight.
Yeah, you don't want to be held here. If I'm Veno, Flixi, Vico, I want to make sure to recuperate that shield, get myself into zone, and then look back and take shots at all these trios, all these players that are going to be staggered, rotating in on late. And now that they've elevated themselves closer to the zone, it should bring some openings to do that needed damage, but they are still 60 below.
It's a hard decision to make.
Ce face Ju? Iarăși trolează Ju.
Look back, spray the teams that they had already gotten in front of. MrSavage though, looking a little bit too split from the rest of his team.
Nu vreau să mă
Mongrel
gândesc
as well,
ce face
trying to see if he can
zAndy.
escape. Veno holding it down inside of the tunnel, but first and foremost, he's got to
Dar
dig
zAndy
Mr.
mor că nu l-am
Savage
văzut.
maybe
L-am văzut pe
directly
Shxrk mai în
underneath this box.
față.
Instead, no, continues to just hold down this route, hold down this escape path because he wants to reunite
Unde
instead.
n-au murit
He
ăștia
wants
și au
to get out. This is not a good
400
choke point for them
above,
to
ăsta e
fight in.
mort.
Valentine's Day was yesterday. Today's not the day to go on a date, as Panzer now is left alone as a duo alongside
Bro, despre
Mr.
ce
Savage. All the
vorbesc
builds have
ăștia?
blocked them off. It's not gonna give Panzer the time to make it back into zone. It's now a
Ui,
3
pasă de
versus
Valentine's
1.
Day.
Can MrSavage get
Când
out of
avem
the situation
pâine
against the most fierce trio in the lobby?
Veno needs this too much. He's not going to let Savage escape, and
murit.
sure enough, Panzer elimination
Eu nu înțeleg de ce
comes
MrSavage
through.
încăsărează
Veno
cu
just
Mongrel.
continuing to break some of these old metal walls
Adică
from
înțeleg,
behind
dar
him.
de ce?
They grab the mats, take full advantage of all the goodies left behind, and they're going to need them because with so much focus
Ce am mai dat și
now
voi like?
being put towards the exit of this tunnelway, they're probably going to have to burn a decent amount of mats.
Looking over at Chino Nebs and Pink. Also further away from zone, long rotate ahead of them, almost no materials, put into shambles. They need to force a fight, all or nothing. They look to get inside the box. They need to get those connects. Nebs goes down.
Pink.
It's all up to Chino and Pink now as a pup comes through, but it's not enough for the knock. Pink left
Pink
as a
skin ăsta.
solo to finish this one off. Can he do it? As another shot comes through, the edit from the ramp causes him to take down one. One more player is left, but his duos, his team are getting eliminated one by one, and now it's 2 solos that have to make it back.
At this point, Pink has essentially got to play it out as if he's just a solo for the remainder of this lobby. He might be able to survive an okay map refresh, but Podesai lingering just behind. He's going to opt for the blind TP instead. He knows that there's still one other contender to deal with, and Adesito, Water Sprite going to buy him a little bit more shield as well. But Pink, he's in no position to really look for any opportunities to get search. He's going to have to depend on the 271 above that he's holding onto right now. And so many players already boxed in way better positions are bound to pinpoint that this solo is
mai
way
mișca.
too separated, way too
Veno
easy
se
to pick
bate.
off.
Be careful though, on the other
A
end,
avut un
Veno
kill,
Flixi,
a murit
they've
Vico,
lost Vico.
a
Veno
murit
goes
și
down as
Veno,
well.
mai e
The
Flixi,
top
care
trio,
moare.
Everybody had their eyes on them going into this lobby, and Flixi, the focus is on him as he goes down as well in 8th zone.
N-a murit
Before
zAndy,
securing
sau?
basically any
A
placement
murit zAndy?
points. Will
Îl văd pe
this be
Shxrk și pe
devastating
Ju.
for the trio, or can they make a comeback later as we look back onto Pink, who secured that solo elimination now with enough loot, enough materials, and I mean enough rotate capability to make it zone.
This is actually huge for Pink. The fact that he's got this mythic Void Oni mask means that he's going to have more charges than the rest of the lobby to play around with as far as his teleports are concerned. He can continuously choose to commit towards a frontside low position. Unlikely that he'll be able to actually make a realistic charge for height, just because teams that play up there are going to be obviously trying to focus out the solo in the lobby, but he's doing an excellent job at buying his team more placements.
Yeah, he can even use kind of the recycled builds now of the players, the trios up in front of him rotating in. As we look at a replay of how Veno, Flixie, and Vico did end up getting eliminated. They were just going for a fight that got third-partied, with so many trios having the eyes on them. As now,
Queasy are high ground.
I saw Queasy and his trio looking for it, but we're gonna keep our eyes on Ping, Malabuka, and Walks. Over 1,000 above Storm Surge. Look at the elimination count on this trio. Are you kidding me? They are ready to make something happen.
Yeah, the only reason they're not on high ground yet is because they chose not to go for it. And they're fully aware of what they're capable of when playing through the low ground layers, likely looking to just enter a challenge for height with as much material as possible, because knowing that Queasy is in your lobby is going to change entirely how teams look to try and approach these height takeovers.
If there's a guarantee, it's that Queasy's going to be up in the clouds with MrSavage and Swizzy. They're going to be looking down. They're going to be shooting second height. They're going to be controlling that elevation. You can see them already claiming different elevations, claiming different angles, applying pressure onto all the other potential trios that might want to take it, as I drop Sky and Scroll now choosing to play more in the dirt here, but they're not the only trio.
This makes sense, though. They're just trying to control the front side of low. We've seen them do this throughout the Division Weekly Finals, and one more time, they're trying to see if it can be the catalyst for their game plan here. Ping, Malabuka, Walks, though, they're looking to meet head-on anyone that dares try and challenge them for the low ground. Malabuka getting some excellent sprays, and unfortunately for Sky, Scroll, and iDrop, they've got everybody looking at them, everybody shooting them down.
All eyes on them. The pressure has
Ce
been
de
applied.
bine
Great play
tot
from Malabuka,
eu
Walks, and Ping, just trying to focus them with the triple spray as much as possible. As the Moose now, I'm not sure if his trio's up, but this could be tragic as he's second high, no shield, and getting sprayed by Queasy's trio. Vanya, Marius, Pixie, though, from making it through in the last chance qualifier to now already starting off strong, going to make an impact in the finals, but Malabuka is going to go down. They were looking so strong with all the loot, the eliminations they had, but it's all up to Ping and Walks.
And Ping knows he's got to wait to reunite with his teammate before he can opt to use the last of their splashes. iDrop, similar position, 6 splashes. If anybody can get this elimination onto him, it could be massive. Instead, he's trying to burn through, trying to make sure that he can shift just one layer higher, just one placement further. That's really all it boils down to.
Trying to scavenge every last point possible. Shxrk splashes in the loadout to make something happen. As we can see, high ground is still steady. Ping, Walks, continuing to play as a duo as they pick up more eliminations. They're not finished yet as the shots come on to CZB. No other elimination yet, but they find Shxrk, they find Chicho, and they want to finish.
Venom,
and the problem now for Shxrk and Chicho is they've been held back. Walks gonna get taken out. Ping trying to see if he can get a little bit of revenge. Chicho will fall. Win condition might have just been thrown out the window there for Tayson's trio, but Ping with that map refresh, he can continue to try and play a little bit out of sight, a little bit out of mind. Hope that it buys him just a little bit more time.
The zone, it pulled through water, it's pulling through elevation, previous builds. It makes it that much more difficult for the trios that are closer to low ground, low on materials. iDrop as a solo, looking to find other ones. Hydro gets caught off guard. Now a chance to play back of zone as Nathan CZB and Eclipse. They're not done either, but Nathan goes down.
CZB.
Cum ar fi să vină trenul?
Small fry left to his name as well. No builds. He's just gonna have to hope that he can break through and edit. Instead, edits the wrong way because Marius was all too prepared for that shutdown.
A full trio on low now as it's time for Queasy, MrSavage, and Swizzy to start dropping down, to start getting fraggy as they already find one. Going for a high double-digit elimination match, trying to play a bit more aggressive here, as now it's a 3 versus 3, high versus low. You have Pixie, you have Marius and Vanya, you have Queasy, Swizzy, MrSavage up above. The shots come through. Vanya gets knocked. Now a 3 versus 2 for Queasy's team, and they're not even done.
But Pixie just getting absolutely shredded. Queasy reminding everybody that he's still got the ultimate height over the rest of this lobby. Marius, though, has a chance if he can find an opportunity to connect here. Queasy doesn't necessarily have the greatest shotgun for those close-to-close exchanges.
MrSavage looking to see for an opening. It is a 2v1.
I'm a battle
advantage. All they need to do is close it out, but MrSavage isn't able to connect his shot. Can the turnaround
Ce nu
come
tare
through for
MrSavage sau cine era
Marius?
ăla?
Tries to pop a mini, but they don't allow it. The shots come through.
Păi zice
Unable
lutul
to
ăsta.
pop that shield. Marius is forced to drop down, and
Ce era
MrSavage
lutul
and
ăla,
Queasy
Queasy?
will close it out, taking home game 1 of the EU Major Finals.
From the moment that we saw them first look to tackle height in game number 1 here, Takada, it's already going to start raising your eyebrows at whether or not they'd be able to convert it to an actual win condition. And sure enough, Queasy's team just continuing to deliver success after success when it comes to the high ground plays.
There was mix-up after the last chance qualifier. So many new contestations. Queasy, Swizzy, MrSavage, they had to make a decision. Do we go back to original drop? Do we keep playing at Kappa Kappa? What doesn't matter, though, for this trio is they are still the GOATs of high ground, and they are showing exactly why that matters in this format.
But hey, I also want to give a huge shout outs there to Vanya's trio because we saw something very promising in their second place finish here compared to how the rest of their season is gone. So let's see what the desk has to say about how this game played out.
Thank you very much, guys. I love it. We got the Gentlemates showdown again. These Gentlemates players are delivering. I imagine Nikov's chat is going absolutely wild right now. But Mini Miner, were you feeling wild about Queasy's chances? Because from zone 9, he looks so comfortable with his trio on that high ground.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just a classic build-up. I think it was late in the 8th zone there just to try and take that high ground, play out the materials. Swizzy and Mustache so impressive there in that end game. I think they had 5 eliminations each. And we always say, 11, when Queasy is in this position with materials, with high ground, it's only going to go one way.
I mean, I am moved. I am very moved. Major 1 Mustache is back. He's on fire. He's getting all the evenings. They pick up his first win, and it's just so symbolic of just what can happen when this team. Mini and I predicted it. Look, we don't think they're gonna land and come, you know, this other trio at Kappa Kappa Factory. We think they're gonna go Seaport. They did go Seaport. They win at Seaport, and the rest of the game just feels so clear from that point forward. I mean, this is a team that, you know, many people before we sort of were thinking about what was going to happen in the Major 1 finals, whether they were Uncon or Con, we're looking at them as like the second best team in the region behind Veno's trio, right? And we just weren't sure what was the off-spawn situation was going to look like. Queasy right now trying to just eliminate all of that. He's saying, forget what the off-spawn situation looks like. I'm here to play, and here to play they are. Can they keep this up for the next 12 games? So that's really what it comes down to.
All I know is that whatever Queasy is eating, it is working. He's been serving up a storm on his socials. He's been serving up a storm in this lobby, but we've got so many more games to go. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have even more Fortnite.
Bine că plecați. 3 minute. Ceea ce facem 3 minute. Ceea ce facem 3 minute. Ce facem 3 minute. Hai că las muzică de la ăștia. Ceea ce facem 3 minute. Și ce dacă nu facem 10 like-uri, eu închid live-ul, că nu mai are rost să-l țin. Bună tuturor! Măi, ăsta live. Sau mi s-a... rămâne cum era înainte.
Hey, my Fodor delivery guy is not answering.
Ah,
Hey, alo, Sora.
da, am înțeles. Băi, e live. Eu vreau să văd leaderboard-ul. Hai mă! Leaderboard-ul. MrSavage. De ce am zis MrSavage? Merstaș pe 1, Marius ca pe 2, ăștia random pe 3, Malibuca pe 4, zAndy pe 7. Ia unde e MrSavage? 24. Ce vă vine să credeți că faceți earning dacă luați top 25, adică dacă luați top 26 nu primești nimica?
Welcome back to FNCS Europe. If you've just joined us, you missed a wicked game number 1. And 11-2K, the fact that Queasy won it was all the sweeter because we needed to see where they were going to be dropping, what their off-spawn situation was, and it looks like they made the right decision.
Yeah, I can say it now because it happened. I am a fraud. I was pretending like I didn't know, and I was like, oh, are they gonna land? I knew you. Queasy told me he was gonna land Seaport. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. And what was actually funnier about it was that like the plan was that if they had, you know, Kappa uncon, he was still gonna land Seaport to try and push, you know, Mumsy's trio away. And he tweeted it, which is why I'm now revealing this. But yeah, like these guys were always gonna land Seaport. They're confident. They genuinely believe they can beat these guys and wipe these guys 12 out of 12 games. And so game 1, they get the job done. Let's see if they can do it again game 2.
Yeah, really, really impressive stuff from this trio. I like the way that they played the mid game as well in the early game. Those off-spawn eliminations gave them so much flexibility and so much surge there early on. They were playing the medkits in the storm like we've seen them do so often just to get them that prime position inside of the zone. And from there on out, as we talked about earlier, just an easy game for Queasy, really. Up on high, loads of materials. You got 2 of the best frags by your side. Easy peasy.
And remember the saying, guys.
Vreau cei mai buni matematicieni să-mi facă un calcul.
Boring. But yes.
Cât e 4350 împărțit la 3?
Also, you can trust Lemon apparently.
Doar matematicienii buni știu să calculeze.
He's going to keep everything to himself. No, clearly I am the lemon of the desk. If you've seen my rank in Zero build, you would totally agree with me. Now, let's talk about someone who's definitely not a lemon, and that's Miniminer actually, because your prediction that Malibuca was one to watch for this tournament this weekend was definitely right on the money. I believe it was 10 eliminations for this trio. They were absolutely on fire, Minnie.
Yeah, solid performance from these guys. It was this drop down that they managed to get the chop out from for Veno, Vico, and Flixie that really was the catalyst for their end game. Really nice, a couple of eliminations they got there. Even going into the end game 11, they had so many eliminations. It wasn't the perfect game for them by any means, right? There was a couple of situations where there was a few different teams on the low ground that were trying to contest it. But Wox and Ping clutched up enough placement points and a couple of eliminations as well to make this a decent start for this trio.
No, absolutely. This game was such a tough game for Surge, and a couple of the better teams in this lobby that we thought were going to do well struggled with that, right? I'm sure that will be a theme throughout the day. But these guys were ready. We saw them storm fighting, right? That's one of the benefits of playing Night Shift, how they play it on a zone pool like this. They can just fight people, and then there's so much leftover loot in Night Shift that they're going to be good for the rest of the game. I'm really excited to see what these guys can do. They're one of the better fighting trios in this lobby.
That surge was insane. It was something like over 1,500. I don't feel like I've ever actually seen surge that high in a competitive lobby. I'm sure you boys have, but for me, it was definitely a bit of a revelation.
They were 1,500 above, and the threshold was probably like 1,500. So they had like 3k damage at that point in the game, right? They had something silly at that point in the game. But yeah, very, very high thresholds right now.
If you cast your eyes down to the 8th position, I Drop Sky and Scroll, they were definitely making a bid for the high ground at 1.11, and then they called off the search in a way. They decided to slide out things quickly, but they made their names known.
Yeah, again, this is a team that I think many people you know, are going to expect to be consistent in these games. They've been that way throughout this season. So, you know, without overreacting too much to game ones, good to see them make an end game. It's going to be about making, you know, more use of those end games and again, finding those win conditions when needed. But yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far from them in terms of being able to get there. It's just, yeah, delivering in the end.
Yeah, I think the problem here for them was they were playing low ground. They were sort of in the center of the zone on low ground. They were sort of in wood there as well. I think there was a moment where like it seemed like every single person was looking at that trio. So ultimately their low ground positioning being in the middle of the entire lobby, everyone looking to try and spray people off their layer. They just became the target, had to spend so many materials, and that's why we saw them go down there. But as you mentioned, I'm expecting to see them in more of these end games. It's nice that they got there. It's nice that they can perform on this big stage, but the job's not done yet. They still have so long to go, and they really need to try and pick things up now for the next game, a few games.
Well, we are going to head straight back onto the Battle Bus, boys, because it is time for game number 2. So let's swiftly move back over to Takata and Taco.
Thank you so much, Frankie and the desk. But Takata, what a crazy match number 1 to kick the day off here. I just cannot believe that we are really witnessing day 1 of the EU Major 1 finals right now.
This is what the finals are about, though, Taco. Seeing all these elite trios competing against each other, from the off-spawn fights, the mid-game engagements, the end game. It was just non-stop action from start to finish. And it's not even close to being done. That's just game 1 of 6. Today, we have another 6 matches tomorrow, so a lot to come. And I couldn't be more hyped, Taco, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I think with everybody kind of getting a good idea, though, of what this drop map is actually going to be looking like, because teams are going to start to want to settle in from lobby number 2 and onwards. And so we'll get a chance to see exactly how things hold up here in game 2.
Kicking off the last match, it was that off-spawn engagement at Lost Lake from Cami, Seti, Cherry, and Podosai, Xsui's, Akira. Will we see that once again? Look, I think we will, Taco. I think it's going to be all, not even 6, possibly 12 games of this action. But hey, maybe I'm speaking too soon. Maybe they'll switch something up. Like Levin mentioned, Queasy and his trio, Swizzy, MrSavage, did go back to Seaport as we originally expected. But it looks like I wasn't wrong. This off-spawn engagement is just kicking off.
You know, one consistency, this is probably the only consistency that we will see all weekend. I refuse to believe that either of these teams in Camis or Podosai's is going to shift their direction. They are going to land all 12 lobbies at this POI. And Xsui's, Akira, they've got the positional advantage. Seti looking really thin as far as HP is concerned. Shari right next to him.
Gotta be careful. Those chug splashes are so beneficial in the early game. It just gives that required shield to your whole trio to play that much more aggressive. Now taking multiple angles, shots to try and pick off one of the players. Cami, Seti, Cherry, they need to make something happen, whether it's box off a solo or do what they can. But with one player already going down, it's all up to Cami and Seti. Cami gets a knock, but he's just a sliver of HP left. Can they make it too as Cami goes down, leaving it all up to Seti, but it's not gonna be enough. As Podosai, Xsui's, and Akira once again take home the fight at Lost Lake.
Hold your breath for a second there, though. Podosai thought that he was going to be a little bit too greedy with that charge through the doorway inside the building there at Lost Lake, but probably happy with that exchange. Skyjump, Momsy, they find themselves in a similar position to their Polish counterparts here at Seaport City, up against the likes of Queasy, MrSavage, Swizzy, who have already found one elimination onto Shakos, and likely just trying to make sure that they can get an eagle-eye view, scout out where these last 2 players are at, because they would love to get those elims.
Yeah, kind of that aura boost as well from taking home the first game. We'll see how that engagement closes out as we look back at iDrop, Sky, and Scroll. Now, this is a trio that, you know, based on previous matches, there's been situations where they're able to loot incredibly quickly and instantly start looking for third parties at Seaport, or in this case, at any congested POI in the surrounding area for those tags. So I'm curious to see if they're going to look to do something similar here again.
We'll have to get a review shortly, because Momsy seems to have found the rest, but MrSavage refusing to budge, and will be able to save the day for the time being. MrSavage getting credit for all 3 eliminations, by the way. I'm sure Queasy and Swizzy he would like some help with the heavy lifting here, but all in all, Takata, game 2 still going strong for these guys.
MrSavage knows the job's not finished. He wants that Major 1 title once again. As we look back on over to Venno, Vico, Flixie, who had a rough start to the day. They were looking so strong. They take these engagements again and again, but sometimes it just puts them into these risky situations that they kind of have to recover from. Now, if any trio is going to recover from these situations, it's going to be Vico, Venno, Flixie. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do it in game 1, but, you know, hopefully on average after the 12 games, they will get out of those situations, because I know once they have a good game, it's gonna be a good game, Taco. Like maybe even 20 eliminations, something crazy is gonna come from this trio.
Nu te cred că a murit
Without a
Ziua.
doubt, but
A murit zAndy.
seems like they're getting held back for a moment there. Panzer, a little bit reminiscent here.
Mai e
As far as getting
Shxrk.
pushed early on, but it's actually going to be zAndy who's in the hot seat, and having been eliminated this early on,
să mor de la
there is potential
Mongral
for
sau
Shxrk
cine te-a
Energy to
omorât.
look for that reboot opportunity. Might even get a chance to look back and see what actually went down here outside of Warriors Watch, and zAndy
Mamă,
just
ce a făcut.
over peak of a lifetime, I guess. Panzer and Mongrel letting him know what's good.
Got a DM, looked at his phone 1 second. Next thing you know, he's looking at the screen on the ground, knocked on his knees. What a shot from Panzer. I think in last game too, they had a bit of trouble in terms of damage, caused them to get stuck outside the storm. So hopefully this time around, they can kind of adapt to their lobby as Darm picks Dimus, looking quite healthy.
Nu știu să-i
They're
pronunță
not the only
numele.
ones, but at the same time, some of these teams, what they're having to trade off in exchange for uninterrupted loot paths, it's these fringe spots of the map. Grippe, Nums, and Rizoi supposedly having some early contest issues over by Magic Monsters, but the way that they have shifted their positioning to be so far north, sure, they're not going to have to worry about eating too much damage. I think they'll have opportunities to push in, but it is going to be difficult to catch up to the rest of the lobby, essentially. Surge could definitely pose some issues for them later on, and when we're seeing some of our top contenders to kind of already struggle with that, Scroll, Sky, and iDrop, they're trying to make sure they don't encounter those same problems.
Exactly. They didn't have the full opportunity to take that engagement at Seaport because MrSavage cleaned it up too quickly. So now they're going to Masked Meadows to see what they can find, as Noah Riley and Chap are going to be down below. But it's going to cause iDrop, Sky, and Skull to say, you know what, instead of just kind of camping over there, let's at least make use of our time, get some materials, refarm, and just stay efficient. As Skavi, on the other hand, Teeny and Haris are in an engagement.
Skvido gonna get chopped, drop, take a little bit of fall damage to boot. In these wood mats,
sau?
you have to imagine that he doesn't
O fi
have the
ăsta
material
Shxrk?
count he's hoping for a
Nu e
stretched
Shxrk
out
ăla.
box fight.
I-a dat
Teeny and
revive-ul
Harissa
Ziua.
from above are gonna be able
Dar
to
nu știu dacă e
provide
mai
some
ia
nice
cardul
coverage fire, so
zAndy.
Svi will be able to scale his way back up the mountain phase, reunite with the rest of his trio. Still, though, a pretty precarious position to be in. All things considered, Svi can't really afford to get those
Cred că ia
up
cardul
close
cât
and
timp nu sunt
personal
ăștia
engagements. It's a little bit more difficult with that twin fire shotgun as opposed to a sentinel pump. So he's definitely kind of depending on Teeny here to sort of open the entryway for himself to follow up on. But this is just a little bit more awkward than what they were hoping for. They're chasing them so deep into this valley now, and inside the tunnel, other teams are gonna be able to take
I-au
advantage
luat
of this.
cardul ușor.
TD now gonna make use of it though, as he got that quick knock onto Kire, Nako, and Xxrk, forced to go away as a duo. Shout out to the Spanish trio, by the way. They got 6th place after last match in terms of the leaderboard, and coming from the drop spot, I mean, it's not one of the best ones, even one of the, mid ones on the map. So getting so far from that drop is impressive, but now with Teeny, Haris, and Skavi not letting them do so once again with already that first elimination, it's going to make it quite tough.
They might even opt to stick around here for just a little bit longer, just because they know with that reboot card being inside the tunnel itself, it's going to be a difficult recovery operation there. That rescue mission is going to take some time for Spanish trio to actually recuperate from. Vanya Pixie Marius, though, once again facing off, this time against Lucy, Loki, and Monet.
Gotta be careful here. Well, the good news is no trios in the surrounding area, as Marius has continued to replace as much real estate as possible here for openings. trying to stay grouped up, waiting for anything to happen. Patience
Mai
is key
trio nici n-am avut
in these
trio.
box fights, but once you find that opportunity to make something happen, you have to capitalize on it to make that play. As Monet is looking for an angle, Lucy kind of crouched around a corner, trying to see if he could find something as well, but so far, it's just going to be back and forths for this trio. I mean, Vanya, Marius, they're already so high up the leaderboard, they don't want to end up getting eliminated this early on, so it's more of a safe battle they're going for.
Vanya and Marius are kind of recognize the fact that with that early contest at Shattered Span for Lucy and Loki, they're going to be forced to pivot elsewhere, find that surge elsewhere, but encountering these guys coming straight out of Kappa Kappa Factory could be very difficult, as Pixie's already proven to get the better end of Loki's HP bar. Loki, no shield, just scurrying around the low ground. Meanwhile, Marius boxed up, waiting for an angle. It's got some good overhyped view, but at the same time, wants to be careful, doesn't want to immediately jump into a box unnecessarily and find himself getting double teamed, essentially.
Yeah, the last thing you want to happen as they continue to not only look for angles in the box fight, but as we saw what Venno was doing in the first game in his engagement is scout around, you know, make sure there's no other trios sneaking up onto you. Make sure you kind of know what's going around as you're playing this out. And this doesn't just apply to the mid game, it applies to every part of the match. You have to stay aware. It's key for these matches. And speaking of the beast, Venno, Vico, Flixie once again in a fight.
Yeah, they weren't having any luck dealing with Upple's team, so they decided let's head Boxcar's direction for map 2 instead and see whether or not that fare a little bit better for their surge plan overall. But Gripe also refusing to budge deep inside his box, kind of just settled away, knows he doesn't have the HP to continue this exchange just yet. Venno with this reposition though, gonna have the opportunity to hold them outside the edge of zone.
Yeah, it's a good job or a good play to just kind of look back here. The issue is there are quite a few trios in the area. I mean, it's not an issue for Venno, Vico, Flixie. It's more openings for them. But I think they are thinking to themselves, you know, this fight's gonna take a bit too long. I did see Vico kind of sneaking up to maybe find an angle, but we'll look back at Akira, Podesai here, who have lost X-Sweeze, as now they're kind of playing it out as a duo in the edge of Night Shift. Malabuka has found something.
And the problem here is that Malabuka is sniffing out the fact that this might have been the trio that they've been taking shots at initially. And Akira, they're hiding, but Malabuka definitely knows something's up. He's trying to be careful, but every top tier player would recognize when a team is just trying to full on bail, and Podesai running off in the distance there. Malabuka still willing to give chase though, because this would be their surge strategy, similar to what they did to Clownski in the last match. We're just picking them off for trying to go for those reboot plays early.
His stomach is rambling, he's hungry. He wants a couple more eliminations as he's spotted off the duo. They know they have the advantage in the situation as the Walmer plates comes through. One more, Malabuka looking to get this, but a pre-fire is gonna come through. Podesai taking down Malabuka. Ping walks forced to play it in a 2v2 now. They were looking so confident going into this engagement, and now in the blink of an eye drop down to an even fight.
And Podesai knows it. He's definitely trying to make sure that he lets Malabuka's team know what's good. Podesai, a couple more splashes left to go here. He's also got a water sprite to use, but walks having been knocked. This is absolutely disastrous for Malabuka's team, because Ping, the sole survivor, maybe he'll be able to get this revive off now that he's able to teleport away with Wax's knocked body. But at the same time, Takada, their strategy to essentially find those eliminations inside of the storm and then push in a little bit later off the dead side because they have solid surge, completely turned against them. Now they have to try and play, can we recover Malabuka or not?
What a turnaround from Podesai and Akira. I mean, they did exactly what they had to keep themselves up. And now looking at Walks, looking at Malabuka, looking at that whole trio, they've got to find a way not only to reboot their team, but also get them with enough loot, refarm the materials they can't already hold, and not only that, get themselves into zone. So depending on kind of where they're positioned already, it's going to be a journey for them to get the end game. Meanwhile, CZB, Nathan Eclipse playing Fishing Simulator here. at the lake by boxcars.
And this is also another one of those teams that I think has definitely popped up on the public's radar as far as capability to perform. Uncontested at Twinkle Terrace. We've definitely seen some highlight reel moments as well coming out of this trio. But at the same time, you never want to find yourself getting caught and held. And that's what Cade, Mappy, and Cringe are trying to avoid. Cade especially not having a Void Oni mask. It's just gonna have to depend on this fishing hold. Clearly invested a lot of time as is, so they'll at least not have to worry about rotating with the rest of the pack. They can definitely spend a little bit more time kind of trailing behind.
As we switch back over to Rift Island once again, Shogun's Arena. It is going to be Blaham, Mixon, and Comeback that are going to be looking to take down the Shogun boss here. And, you know, hopefully make use of that medallion to help them on in the upcoming segments of this match. Looking at the mini-map, there is a trio on that snowy hill by them. Combeck is aware of this due to those surge bases, so they're trying to kind of think ahead of time. Where can we look for some of these tags? Is just the edge of Rift Island is in zone here and most likely not going to pull in the next zone, so almost guarantee that they will have to rotate away. When are they going to make that rotation is kind of the key factor.
But what's nice is having that position from Shogun's Arena. They're going to be able to at least spray other teams and essentially push other teams from wanting to rotate directly under them for where their most optimal rotate path into zone would be. So they'll also have a good chance, I think, at being able to spot out which Mountain Range they want to take over. Giannis, though, has been brought back into this match, and it's for good reason. Chap going to be revived thanks to his teammates winning this fight out, but it's not the last fight they'll have to find themselves in, because with those surge ticks starting to come into play, it could be a serious issue, and Noah Riley doesn't have any material.
That's a great point, because like you said, another fight is going to have to take place. I mean, not only do they have to refarm materials from scratch, but they just don't have enough to fully make it into this end game and play it out. So they will have to refarm what they can, get to zone, and kind of hunt down a potential opponent to make a play on. But it looks like, speaking of trios that kind of had a little comeback, Walks, Ping, and Malabuka now back in business together as a trio after what went wrong outside of the zone. But issue is now they will have to make their way back in, but hopefully they've been doing enough damage. As we'll take a look here, 179 above. Not too, I mean, it's not too bad, but it's not enough either. So the job is definitely not finished.
If you want a real stab at trying to control the high ground with the likes of Queasy, Swizzy, and MrSavage in the lobby, though, Takata, it is nowhere near enough. They're going to have to take a fight from another team that's hopefully, in their minds, more tatters than what they are coming into the zone late. Noah Riley, though, might have just found his target here. Trulex, Tayson, Chicho trying to see if they can escape, but Giannis hot on their heels, looking to break down their walls, just pickaxing his way through.
If they want to finish this, they have to do it quickly. Either go for a pre-edit, go all in, or you got to get yourself to zone as well. They're not even in here, so it is going to start taking as the shots come back onto Giannis now, looking to play more aggressive. Noah's going in. You got to help him, back up your teammate, as now they're all pushing together. It's Nako on the other end of the door. Splash is going to come through to recuperate what they lost. Trulex close by as well. It's a party of multiple trios not in the zone, as now shots continue to come through. Trulex getting cracked, Chap getting cracked. Everything's on to Tayson as they're jumping right into his box, and he is going to fall shortly after.
But who's really benefiting here?
Moneymaker,
Amorishi right now from Chap and Noah Riley, immediately assaulting them from above, not trying to allow them a chance to regenerate any of the HP. They know that there's bodies inside those boxes, but they'll opt to fall back to a separate position. They think that they'll have better odds if they just look back and spray with everyone else in the lobby.
The thing is, you don't want to spend too much time spraying here. If I'm Nako's trio, I want to, look to see if I have an opening, but after, they got to get to zone themselves. There's another trio that's going to be holding Nako, Shxrk, and Kire when they try getting to zone, so the more time they spend here, the more difficult that rotate is going to be. They can even opt to maybe recycling the builds of Chap's trio if they do end up getting behind them, but what they have to do here is focus on that rotate.
Yeah, and that tree proving to be one of Nako's biggest enemies right now. Does give a little bit of a safety net there for Noah Riley, Chap, and Yanis to rotate through, but it's coming up right at the bottom of this surge base. Mongrel, MrSavage, this could be a real prime opportunity for them to find a team that's a little bit beat, but like able to fight back. And the thing is, Savage, Panzer, Mongrel, they need the damage more than anything. They're sticking around in this surge base for a decent amount of time, and 209 above, sure, it's a little comfortable, Takata, but it's nothing you can get cozy with.
I think I even saw them, you know, pre-fire the Oni mask onto Panzer just in case he ends up getting pushed, so his team can back him up.
Vreau și o să văd cât damage dau ei, nu... Așa. Eu de unde să știu cât damage dau ei.
Being connected from MrSavage, now 423 above, as the next zone is going to appear here in just a second, and they'll be able to make a decision on if they want to stay at that elevated mountain or if they have to make a rotate. But I drop Sky and Scroll with 2 eliminations on the board, incredibly far from the zone. Definitely have to make a rotate here.
Sky, Scroll, eye drop, they're really just trying to gauge which of these mountain hills they want to try and avoid or take over, even if given the opportunity. And they're going to find just pushing a little bit northward. They do have to deal with Batman and Volko from behind them, spraying out their walls. With the Typhoon Blade, though, Sky is just going to look to try and make this fast rotate. He knows that there's a surge base directly above him, but this could be an opportunity here for Sky, Scroll, and iDrop to get a little bit fraggy. Maybe if they decide to chop out the floor of that team in the base above them, find some quick eliminations, and that could change the game as far as their
walks. Great job of putting themselves in prime positioning for the zone here from what was a rough kind of mid-game with one of them getting eliminated to now being back in business above Storm Surge. On the other end though, Vanya just on the borderline, only 4 above, quickly knocked down to 20 below. Marius low on shield, forced to recuperate some as shots are going to be looked to getting connected, but it's going to be Veno down below them looking for a triple spray, looking for anything that they can possibly get.
Sunt șanse de 30% ca Veno să câștige.
Instead, they're going to have to make this next rotation a little bit more central to where everybody else is at. Venya, though, not going to have the opportunity alongside his teammates to continue looking for those tags. Instead, he has to make sure that he pops from those shield potions. And the other thing, too, Takata, we're witnessing the night and day difference between having control over that Shogun's arena in Lobby 1 versus where Vanya's team currently sits now.
So much more difficult not being able to conserve those materials and looking for those tags at those elevated positions. But the good news is they've got AR ammo to spare. They can triple spray this all they want, keep applying pressure as much as they need to continue elevating that damage. As now the Storm Surge ticks come through, more openings are going to be seen from Vanya and his trio as they can just keep on spraying, and it is going perfectly for this trio, even picking up an elimination alongside it.
The only real downside there is that they couldn't go pick up those type of materials after the fact, but they know the entire lobby was looking at that team on edge, and it is no good currently. They've got to make sure they keep pushing forward. Sky as well, trying to maintain a slightly elevated position here on the low ground. Yanis in a hot spot of trouble. He's been knocked. Sky, Scroll, iDrop. They were inside his box immediately. Typhoon Blade, Shxrk all around, and Yanis not going to have the chance. He's going to be eliminated.
What a quick finish from Sky, iDrop, and Scroll. They don't even need to continue that forwards as the zone is already moving. If you look up in the clouds, though, it's going to be Predage, Radion, Rax. They're holding on to height so far. Can they maintain it?
It's whether or not their builds are able to hold out, but when the rest of the lobby is so scuffed with how much elevation they have to actually cover, this could be the saving grace for the high play. Although nothing's ever safe when it comes to the high ground, as long as Queasy, players like Malibuka's team, still lurking around. Malibuka just trying to find an opportunity to finish all that chaos taking place.
N-am mai văzut așa ceva în viața mea.
Inside of this water run at Foxy Floodgate, this could be the real difference maker for the late game.
Love that they were pre-firing the Oni masks onto the opposing height just in case it does pull towards it. Veno, Flixie,
Știți cu Zeulika? Da, îmi place. Îi dau pină.
Playing, I want to say almost a little bit safer. Maybe they got a little scared from what happened in the previous game. 3 elims on the board, still a lot, but not exactly what we would expect as they go for the chop on high. This could be massive for the trio if they're able to contest it. That knock is everything. It now puts them in a 3 versus 2 alongside that high
E
ground.
Veno. Nu era solo Veno.
Or have they just taken
Mă, dar Fortnite și calitatea asta și eu am calitate mai bună. Și eu am calitate mai bună care e ultima porcărie de calitate la mine.
Straight towards the front side of this next zone, cranking upwards, just trying to get the overall scope out of the lobby, but there is no one to challenge Veno's team just yet. They are committing so much hard material here, Takada, and it's for good reason.
Exactly that, as MrSavage, Queasy, and Swizzy didn't see that opening for height this time around so early. Now lower on materials or
Cred că
forced to
Queasy
play by the
o să ia
water.
locul
There's just
în
so
prima zi.
much pressure on their surroundings. The issue with the zone is it continues pulling through water. It's so many materials that will have to be used, but Veno said, where am I?
Ce vreau să văd repede 15 like-uri, dacă nu închid.
I need to find some more picks as Flixi continuing to take those shots and stay ahead.
Sky, though, inside of the mid-ground layers, trouble
Veno
is brewing, and he knows
e
that
puțin ca
Height
de
has
vreme
them
să-mi dau seama.
completely focused out. They're going to opt to try and shift back towards some pre-existing builds of theirs, but again,
Mongrel
Vico,
e
Flixi,
solo.
Veno, they just continue to hold down Height,
A murit
and down
de
below,
la
inside the
Vico,
waterway itself,
de la
teams just
Shxrk, de
getting
fapt, și s-a putut
absolutely
Vico.
smothered
Nu!
together.
MrSavage, Queasy, stați în viață. Chat, eu nu țin cu nimeni. Gen, nu țin nici cu zAndy, gen, nu țin pentru că știu că nu vor câștiga. Nu că am ceva cu ei, dar știu că nu vor câștiga.
Marius goes down to MrSavage, bumping his eliminations up to 5 as they continue to find a way back to zone, but they're not even done.
Ce-ai făcut, Malibuca?
Welcome to your first grand.
Ai grijă la spate.
Malibuca on the other side of those walls, but it's going to be Demas who might be able to actually keep the Polish hopes alive here, just managing to squiggle away from where Wax
Da și tu ceagurile alea, Shxrk.
He can't afford to take another tick of storm.
Malibuca e
He's got to make sure
1-11.
that he follows zone all the way through.
Mamă,
Wax
ți s-au viața.
immediately lit up the moment that he tries to layer
Trebuie să
swap.
dea ceagurile.
Malibuca versus MrSavage. What is this history? Teammates now opponents as you have to be careful. Malibuca goes down. The zone's pulling right back to the dam. They need to get elevated here. You cannot stay down below. You're going to get cut off from zone as MrSavage is looking to see what he can do with just 2 builds to his name. 28 HP, 50 shield. All it's going to take is one big pump shot to take out MrSavage.
But MrSavage knows he's going to be forced to try and play from this backside position. Now looking to just try and hold down, hold out for as long as possible. Every placement counts. They didn't have the materials in the first place. That's why he's even low ground to begin with. But he's not the only one suffering here. Scroll, Sky, iDrop, just cutting their way through the madness.
Ce-a fost asta? Scroll? Mamă, era să moră dacă n-avea sniper-ul. Ok, a murit. Ia ce place face MrSavage. E timpul... Ok, nu mai e niciun timp să te mici. Random.
Mixin, full trio up. Blaha comeback now. Have to decide what's the game plan. Do we have an opening for height? Do we have to drop down low? The decision needs to be made as the Oni masks are going to come through to avoid that fall damage and conserve those last couple materials that they have. The fight for the low ground is about to commence as Mixin, Blaha, comeback looking for angles. Go on in. Demus goes down. Vico though, he's not going to let that one slide as he takes out
Veno a murit.
looking to
Mai e
follow
Vico,
shortly with
Flixi.
comeback. Just
Încă
20
două
HP on the
echipe în
clock
afară
gets
de
the
schimul
siphon. It's
ăsta.
enough to stay up, but now
Flixi.
is Flixi gonna be able to out heal? The Oni mats come through. Flixi's not even finished. This is what it takes to be a champion.
Da, ai avut dreptate că câștigă Veno.
I can do better, Veno. The fact that his team is the one to walk away with this match 2 victory, Takada, that is a direct shout out to Queasy and Co. And I just cannot picture a better way to seal the deal than with the way that they were able to essentially commandeer height for pretty much the priority of this late game. And even after losing it momentarily to Comet behind Mixin, it did not deter them in the slightest. They just got fraggy at the end of it.
Oh yeah, that zone was perfect as
zAndy
well.
pe
After they were able to
15.
take height, there was so many changes in the elevation due to that dam that they just had almost a free picking up on high ground. But you could also see how their playstyle kind of changed a little bit from the first game. They got picked too early. They didn't take as many of those early to mid game engagements, but just like we're used to seeing, once it reached the end game, they started getting fraggy. Vico, Veno, they were dropping down. They were looking for picks and they made it happen. But I want to go back to the desk because you guys gotta break down what we just witnessed.
Well, I think what we just witnessed was another high ground masterclass, but this time from Queasy's ex-duo, Veno, and the rest of his trio, because the guys, once they claimed height from Dodge, chopping him down, they were just unstoppable. I know I'm pretty much repeating exactly what I said about Queasy Mini Minor, but it was textbook.
Yeah, this is a slightly different high take in the way that they actually chopped down the team that were already on height. Really, really nicely done. They reinforced, then did what the team up on height didn't do, made sure they weren't able to get chopped out. And I think the crucial moment there, Level, I think it was the 11th zone, the 10th zone that actually pulled back onto the builds that they had before. So from there on out, they were just so much higher than the rest of the lobby. Everyone else had to sort of slalom through all the old builds, and it was just really, really well played. And what we more expect from this trio.
Yeah, it saved them so many materials, right? And I mean, the casters were sort of hinting at it. It feels like we are just on that crash course to both those teams colliding, right? You know, Queasy and them, they didn't have as many mats, so they didn't play it. So Veno and them were like, all right, we'll do our thing, we'll take it. But like you mentioned, Mini, the differences in how they both play for height shine there. These guys are all about chopping height. Look at them, they're just chopping through the builds there. The team up on height has no clue at all. All three of them pickaxes out. The Italians racks didn't see it coming.
Mamă, ce a făcut Veno.
Look at Veno in his element. The beams to get him out of there. I was a bit worried they were just going to start building up on wood there. Thankfully, Veno built some metal. I think Vico got a bit too excited there, as he does. We know that. But still, they were able to maintain a height here throughout the rest of this game. And now I just want to see what happens when you have both of these teams healthy looking for height. Right? Because that's really what we're building up towards now.
Dacă nu eram muntele ăsta, cred că câștiga altă
When
echipă.
both of them are in the lobby and they both want to play high, who comes out on top? Because, you know, both these teams got absolute shooters on their sides. Flixie and Vico just popping off here, getting all the elims they needed towards the end to close out that game. Vico, that's where he's most comfortable, right? You allow Vico to drop down from height and frag out. Might not be any player better than him in the region. The only person that looks like they can match him right now might be MrSavage. So yeah, these two teams right now are so thrilling to watch.
Well, I am desperate to talk about MrSavage as well, but unfortunately we have to slalom, to quote Mini Minor, into the break. We'll see you in a few.
Mă plictisesc, chat. Ce fac eu în astea 3 minute? Ce fac eu în astea 3 minute, chat? La dropul ăla e over. Cine mai e live? Ce face Psych? De când se uită Psych la ăsta, la view party. Deci ți-ai făcut un thumbnail pentru zAndy, gen. Ok, reclamă. Hai, lasă. Sper să nu bage ăștia de la Fortnite reclamă, că-ți fac ceva. Unde e asta? Nu e asta. Mai greșim și noi scena. Dați așa, chat. Mă disper. speriat omul ăsta cu gif-urile, nu gif-uri, TikTok-urile lui. Era să închid live-ul. Îmi vine să apăs pe butoane random.
And welcome back to FNCS Europe. We are 2 games into our Major 1 finals, and we've still got plenty more Fortnite action coming your way. But let's talk about what happened in Game 2. And Levin, I want to talk to you first of all about Trulux, Chicho and Taysom, because they were your team that you were concerned about, should we say, in the pre-show. Yeah. But the thing you were not concerned about, I believe, is the struggle for Surge that they witnessed in Game 2.
Yeah, I mean, you'd never really expect these guys to have any sort of mid-game problems, and we saw this fight here between, you know, Janice's trio who were a bit low on Surge, Taysom's trio a bit lower as well, so both teams are sort of willing to fight, right? They both needed damage, and even though this wasn't one of the concerns we saw highlighted, Mini, this is a general concern of this team, right, in terms of just actual, like, fighting power, right? Obviously, you have Chicho, who's a prominent sort of aimer, and, you know, he's going to be able to hold his own in fights, but, you know, that was the concern about Trulux and Taysom. If they end up in these sort of mid-game fights, can they hold their own? And there they get picked off, which ain't too great.
Yeah, and it was a home zone for them as well, right? They had the zone right on their drop spot, and it was one of those situations where you think, why would they below Surge? Why were they in that situation in the first place? Because we highlighted it at the beginning. They're so good at doing that. I suppose sort of sometimes when you do get the zones pulling to your drop spot, maybe you just stay too stagnant and not a lot of teams try to sort of rotate around and try and find fights. But right there, we saw exactly why this team haven't been able to get wins. It just showcases they haven't necessarily got that fragging power, the firepower to pick up refreshes, not just in the mid game there, but also in the end game. So yeah, definite concerns right there. They went down that early because I mean I was definitely expecting to make sort of 10 or 12 or 11 or 12 end games. I mean that's not a great performance from them at all.
Well, we're having a great performance from Lennon, the analyst. Lennon. I know. What is wrong with me? I'm just going to call you Mr. 2K. Mr. 2K, you made a sterling prediction earlier as well when you talked about one of the teams that was going to surprise in the lobby today, and Pixdom and Demas. They were doing just that in game number 2. Demas was bragging.
Ăștia de pe locul 8 acum văd.
Absolutely, the clutch was crazy. I will say, frankly,
de pe ultimul loc au ajuns pe locul 8.
The fans already think you hate me. If you call me that, they'll think it's tension between us.
Monsieur 2K.
I think Demas, Pix, Dom, again, their team, I think quality-wise, what they've shown this season is that they can be an elite team. And that clutch from Demas just goes such a long way in proving that. Like, the guy's getting 7-11s, just fragging out, staying alive. I mean, these guys, again, I think are going to break the record for a new trio in EU in their first, you know, grand final. And, you know, I think they'll place higher than 8th. A good game from them there. I think we'll see a lot more of that.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I think they're a team that definitely can perform. We spoke about it earlier. I still share the same thoughts that I had at the beginning of potentially maybe they're getting contested by another team, but they're doing really, really well at the moment.
And who else is doing really well is, of course, MrSavage. Now, I mentioned earlier with Malibu could get the back-to-back today, but MrSavage is going for the back-to-back-to-back in terms of Major 1 final wins. Could be 3rd year in a row that he seals the deal very early in the season. And he was so determined to do that yet again this game, mini-minor, fragging out of his mind.
Yeah, just doing what MrSavage does, what we know he can do, picking up eliminations, doing what he does best. And this is exactly what we kind of expect to see out of a Major 1 MrSavage at this point, Levin. I think this is just kind of becoming a trend that's almost impossible to ignore. He seems to just perform best at the beginning of the year. He likes to get the job done early. He can sort of take his foot off the gas potentially for the rest of the year. But right now, I mean, thinking just on this game in particular, absolutely incredible stuff, and it's exactly what this team need, considering they're contested. They need to make the most out of all of their games that they're getting into.
And you have to remember, he was actually in his element in terms of where he's most comfortable. Of course, Queasy's turned these guys into like the height guys, but remember, Mustache is the original. I don't want to be on his mid-ground layer 'cause he's gonna give me problems. So it was nice to see him back in that zone.
The only time that MrSavage and Mid will ever be in a sentence together. Thank you so much, boys. We're going to head straight to the cards, though, because game number 3 is ready.
Thank you, Frankie. We're not even halfway done yet, Taco. We still have these storylines building. It looks like it's kind of a battle for height between Queasy, Swizzy, MrSavage, and Vico, Veno, Flixie. Who's gonna get more of those high ground victory royales? I don't know. Time will tell, but we're definitely in for a show.
E acum văd că ăștia au un background din chapter 5 și noi suntem chapter 6.
It can't just be Queasy and Veno hitting home runs as far as today is concerned. So game number 3, let's see what you got.
Ce-ați făcut, bă, ăștia la Fortnite?
End game, but looking at the early game, we have had this back-to-back off-spawn engagement. It's Lost Lake, Cami, Seti, Chari up against Podosai, Xwiz, and Akira. Will it happen once again? So far, 2-0 in favor of Akira and his trio. Will they be able to turn things around? As we're actually going to take a look at Seaport, where we've seen the top trio right now contesting Momsy, Shakeoff, and Skyjump, not really allowing them to breathe.
The problem, though, is that Queasy got the building he wanted with the elemental chest inside of it, and so that's going to be problematic as far as Skyjump, Shakos, and Momsy are concerned. But again, scenes here at Lost Lake. Shari finally trying to put Poland on the map here as far as Lost Lake is concerned, because this has been all ooh la la as far as the day is concerned.
I want to see something happen here. It's all up to kind of getting that good loot off the rip, hitting those shots you need to connect, and I don't know how this is going to affect Cherry, Cami, Seti going into these matches, having already lost 2, but so far it's not instant aggression from either trio. It's more pop shots back and forth, as it seems that Xwiz, Akira, and Podosai are even kind of disengaging a little bit from main.
Well, potentially some other contenders taking note, and it would appear as though Shari able to find that knock initially. Had some questions raised here, but now Akira trying to see if he can help fend off a little bit longer here for Podosai. The issue is that he just doesn't have so much ammo to work with. He needs to get closer if he wants to make use of that SMG that he's currently holding on to, and Akira from the rooftop knows it's only a matter of time before Shari and the gang close in enough to find that full elimination onto Xwiz.
Space has been closed. Podosai was wanting to pick him up, but they're not going to have time anymore. They heard Seti, they heard Cami. They're close by now. It's going to be a 3 versus 2 to close this one out, as the elevated position is going to be in favor here. The push is going to come through, looking to see what they can find. Podosai left alone, but he's going to take out Cherry, as now it's back into a 2 versus 2. Cami and Seti forced to make something happen. Akira now in the fight, as Seti's been fully cracked. Goes down, leaving it all up to Cami, and once again, 3-0 for Podosai, Akira, and Xwiz.
Eu acum am văzut că au murit ăștia iarăși.
They would have figured would happen here at Lost Lake. The last thing that they would have told you, Takata, is that it would be Podosai's team winning this off spawn consistently, back to back, the hat trick on top of Poland. And the real issue now begins to stem, Takata, because day 2 we don't have that 1.5 times point multiplier. So for Cami, Seti, and Shari, a team with so much pedigree, to be struggling this heavily in day 1, they have seriously got to turn things around if they want this major 1 finals to go anywhere near their favor.
Heartbreaking start, as we see the cons now of taking so long to finish up these engagements, though. It's just that opening for the third party, Hijo, Trex, or Robin to come on through. They're invited to the party now, as Podosai is going to go down. And Robin, Hijo, and Trex are going to come out on top in that third party, getting the leftover loot. Now Akira is going to have to play this one slow.
Ai zis că au murit.
Fortunately, though, for Akira, he was at least
Ai zis că au murit toată echipa, nu e mor niciunul.
at his survival, so
Sau te
we might see him
uiți
be able to make that reboot possible.
pe
Nako, on the
replay.
other hand, doesn't want to give zAndy the chance. Ju trying to see if he can close in, try and provide a little bit of a revive opportunity there for his teammate, but that's going to leave Shxrk all alone on the high ground. Granted, Kire doesn't exactly have the HP that you would want to take up this exchange. It's not going to matter though. Shxrk put down just like his fellow comrades, and
O
now
trece.
Nako,
Dar nu mai dă spoilere.
knowing it's only Ju left to fend for himself.
Oh, gotta be careful though, as the shot's gonna go back onto Nako, but his teammates are gonna back him up as they take home that fight. MrSavage though, looking to continue with the aggression from last game. Shing right into the box as he gets taken out himself. What's going on in his mind as Swizzy and Queasy are gonna have to clean this up for MrSavage, as now Queasy has been knocked as well. It's all up to Swizzy, everything on the line. But if any player is gonna make it happen,
Chilează-te.
2 quick pump shots is all it's gonna take.
Dă revive la teammate,
He's
what?
already been eliminated. Swizzy knows that MrSavage, he's been extended a little bit of a lifeline here, and he's gonna opt for the TP away with the body. Doesn't manage to actually take MrSavage with them though, because the third party from Kate, Cringe, and Mappy, they're gonna be the only ones profiting off of this
Cât
box fight.
ghinion.
That's the issue with these lobbies. All these trios have studied their surroundings. When they see in the feed a fight's going on and it's close to them,
Salut,
they're going to take a peek
Europa
at it.
Pro.
They're going to look for any potential benefit they can get. And for Mappy, Cade, and Cringe, it's going to be a quick elimination on the leading trio currently on the leaderboard.
If I'm Veno, I've got a really big smile on my face after that one though. Bound to be keeping tabs on that elimination feed, but can't lose focus just yet. Can never ease off the pressure in these kinds of final set lobby circumstances. Venya, Medias, Pixie, they also know exactly what's on the line, and they've consistently been encountering Lushi's trio coming out of that southern section of Shattered
Nici
Span.
fată sau
Still
băiat
hanging
sau
around here
fată.
in Hopeful Heights leads me to believe that that's a fight that they are still currently stuck in the midst of, but Pixie, he's gonna need some backup.
1 HP is what was left for Pixie, as he's quickly gonna have to recuperate that with some chug splashes. Vanya gonna get by him, kind of help him out here, hold his walls while he heals back up. But you gotta be careful. More trios already inside of the zone are just taking shots back at them now, kind of not letting them freely get back into Storm or
Ia ce
zone.
face Vico.
As Vico, Veno, Flixie now feeling a bit more confident once again, continuing with this aggression that we're more used to.
There's one thing that's for sure is that Veno likes to get aggressive in the early game because they can always fall back to their origin point, get plenty of loot here. But Veno, he's waiting for the opening, wants to see if he can get a good chunk out of Batman, and Batman just continuing to try and hold on to this ramp as long as possible. Gonna scurry on over, regroup with the rest of his team as much as possible. This team though, Vico's, so much trust within each other and their fragging capabilities. Vico even opting to try and set up the pre-edit early on, just hoping for any sort of close commitment, because Vico, Veno, and Flixie know time is of the essence here, and they don't want to spend more than what they have to fighting another team.
The good news is they're very aware there's not too many trios close by, so they can take just a bit longer to finish this one off. But from shots getting connected onto Flixie, onto Vico, now forcing them to use a bit more of those shields, they're gonna have to play defensive for a second here, as Veno makes use of his time to reform a bit. And now they've kind of sensed that danger of Pink getting close, and it's gonna cause them to disengage.
Smart. Veno is always keeping tabs from that elevated position whenever these box fights are taking place to make sure that they don't actually get encroached upon like some of the other teams we've already seen fall apart in this early game for it. Klonsky, Gudenbry, and Moneymaker though, they're also close by to this bird to go coming out of that western portion of the map from Whiffy Wharf, but whether or not they actually want to get directly involved is a different story here, Takada, because match number one, we saw how heavily that worked against them, and I think that kind of just put the message in the back of their mind. They're going to play this one a little bit slower, play and make sure that they have a guaranteed advantage.
Yeah, mentality is tough, especially in a 2-day competition like this, and how kind of the game changes based on what happened in previous matches. Not only
Bă, dar nu văd
if
nicio
something went
diferență
wrong,
atât
but
de
just you're
mare
kind of aware maybe of a new
între
rotate from the trio
performance mom
that
și
wasn't
direcții
previously there,
12.
anything that kind of caught them off guard.
Gen în afară,
As you look at
gen,
Pix, Darm, Themis,
mi se
like
pare
Lennon
că
was saying,
sunt
shout
prea
out to
puține
this
chestii
trio.
pentru
I
direcții
mean,
12.
competing in
Că
their first
se vede o
ever
diferență.
FNCS Major
Gen
Finals.
iarba.
113 points on the board. I mean, I believe they're in 6th place so far. I think if they want to make history, they gotta get at least top 8 to break that previous record. So I think they definitely can make something happen.
Within their sights, but can't get too amped off of halfway through day one just yet. Want to remain as composed as possible. Comeback completely caught off guard though.
vreau să văd
What a
acum
valuable
15
time to
like-uri.
pop up here. Just ensures that his teammate's going to be able to actually get to a safety position, and now it's going to be Comeback forced to expend some of his shield. That looked like a real opportunity here for Mixin Comeback, but instead now they're going to be forced to wait for the next opportunity to arise, because even though they've got this elevated position, Cringe Mappy Cade, they're already bailing.
Yeah, and that's the only other trio in sight currently. So, I mean, the more time they take, I guess more trios will potentially start rotating through, but sometimes you just take too long, as it seems to be happening once again. Xsui's Akira Podosai, as I believe I saw Malabuka close by. Can we see a potential repeat?
I see that bite back from match number 2 is the exact reason why we see Malabuka's team actually opting to go in pairs this time around. They don't want to look for that solo engagement. They don't want to find themselves having to play for the reboot. And now Podosai held just a little bit
Malibuca în
outside
copac.
that edge zone. Malabuka in the trees even. Just making full use of everything the map has to offer. But Wox knows they need to get some tags going. They want to get their surge as early as possible so they can then focus one more time on those rotations.
I mean, it kind of shows that even the previous match didn't affect them too much. They're not going to stop playing aggressive now after that 3v2 kind of turned into a loss. So they'll continue playing aggressive. They'll continue looking for opportunities outside of their surroundings at night shift. As we look at Scroll.
Ce vă știați
Kind
că
of choosing to play
Scroll are
the
numele
bush here
ăsta
while his
că
teammates are on the
construiește de pe
surge base, just for
Scroll.
more openings, more angles.
And one issue that I think has been presented to this team is kind of the history that's just hovering over iDrop's head. You're looking at someone with so much tenure, but their best finals placement having actually been a 7th place finish. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Sky Scroll. This is a Danish duo, now trio, on the up and up that has essentially been showing steady and consistent improvement, and it's been at a relatively rapid pace. So now the question that iDrop is essentially having to answer to everybody at home watching is, can he actually overcome that placement history? Can he continue to rise with these two Danish stars in Sky and Scroll?
Well, this is a good event to make it happen. In 7th place currently, they're on route to make greatness as Vico Venoflexi once again in a quick engagement. Resori's going to be on the opposing end though, going down to Veno. Quick elimination on the board, not too troublesome at all for this trio. Because now they, I mean, they got leftover materials. They got everything they need here.
They got capped mats.
Most
importantly of all here, Takata and Rizoi didn't even know what hit him. I mean, which direction are you even supposed to look at that point when you've got 3 separate players just bombing your walls at the same time? Only so much left to be done from that position. And talking about positions, this could be a very good one for Mongrel, MrSavage, and Panzer, currently in control of the Shogun's arena. And with the way that these zone pools have been dictated so far, teams have had the opportunity to essentially stick around a little bit longer for at least one zone more and look for those tags, look for that damage, but they're not the only ones that seem to have that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's pretty centered, so there is that kind of chance, that slight potential that we see it closer to the end game. being able to stay on top of that island during that moment, having it claimed can be key to leading to a victory royale. As we look back at Blaha comeback mixin on the opposite kind of edge of the zone here.
It's like the calm before the storm. It's what it's really feeling like right now. And mixin Blaha comeback, they had that spill earlier on, closer to boxcars, where they were unable to connect the shots that they had been hoping for up against Cringe's team. So they're still looking to play from those slightly elevated positions. But again, if they're not finding the tags that they need, they're not going to continue to be able to try and hold on to those height spots, because other teams are going to look to try and scoop them out from underneath them.
Looking over to Noah, Chap, and Yanis, though, like we saw with Blaha and his trio, making use of farming during your rotations as they get closer and closer to a position that they can kind of look for more tags from. Having 0 eliminations, they're just focused more on those long-range tags, not playing fully aggressive. The issue is Zone has pulled quite far here, so they probably want to start rotating as quickly as possible to potentially maybe even catch some trios off guard that are rotating in later. But for Nako, Kire, and Harko, they're just on the edge of this next zone, so they don't have to move just yet.
Nu mai încerca, că nu-ți
Still big for
merge.
them as far as their surge is concerned, because they're catching wind of all these teams that are rotating from a little bit later on out of Twinkle Terrace, out of Night Shift Forest. They're trying to make use of this zone pool and just holding teams as long as possible. Preemptively placing the Void Oni Mask in case they get a chance to key. All it takes is one knock, and that will be that immediate green says go. Let's make
Ăla vrea să
that we are
pescuiască, e
getting active in
nebună,
this
la chiar...
lobby.
Chiar ajunge Undița
Unless it's
până
on Venom, then you
acolo,
get a little
what?
scared of Rico. Then you're like, oh, do I? No, I'm just kidding. If that was me, I mean, yeah, but for these players,
Cum
the
ajunge
veterans,
Undița aia până
Team
acolo?
Shxrk V, 140 above, have openings on the players that are still rotating in here, but Volko, Batman, and Fastroki, they're not going for long range
cred că
engagements.
merită
They're
să
going
lăsă aia
straight
doar
into the
pentru o
action
armă.
onto Pinks, Nebs, and Chino.
Nu mai
You gotta be careful as
există
Fastroki,
Water
Batman
Boy.
have lost almost all of their shields so far, being only 5 below. Is it worth it to risk it all? With no materials, it might be.
But Volko knows that without any sort of mats, actually dragging out this fight up against the likes of Pink Nebs and Chino, it's going to be next to impossible. They're either going to have to fight, or they're just going to get their party. And so choose what's right in front of you, or wait for what's about to make its approach, because Gripe's team wants a piece of the action. Chino knows it though. Fastroki just a little bit too desperate, and that's going to be Chino's sign to get in there. That first elimination, a big statement from Pink.
Great job playing defensive from
Dino,
Nebs, Pink, and Chino, just waiting
Nebs.
for one of their opponents to make a mistake, to catch them off guard as a solo and get that pick. The issue is they don't even want to keep fighting this. They just want to get back to zone, as Yanis has somehow lost his whole team alongside himself, goes down. But Nebs, Pink, and Chino now just going to make their way towards the zone.
Unfortunately for Chap's team, Skyjump and Shakos were on the detour essentially of a lifetime because of what was happening at the start of this lobby. No Queasy, Murstache, and Swizzy to worry about means that other teams are going to have to deal with a shift in search strategies, and that was the case there for Shako, Skyjump, and Momsy. Just taking advantage of those rotations last minute. Malabuka, though, he's been following Akira's team for so long coming out of Night Shift Forest, and now with one elimination on the board, he knows that there's several more that he might be able to get after.
I got concerned for a moment when we looked at Malabuka, as his teammates were almost fully cracked, but then I realized, okay, wait. They've got this situation under control so far, it seems. They're doing a bit of damage. Nobody's got it knocked yet, so we're good at the moment. I mean, this is a match where they have a chance to push themselves into that first place spot on the leaderboard. They're already so close. They just need one of those big games to make it happen.
Eu nu mai îngheță că nu mai știu.
It's not as much as they've had previously, but it's more than enough, especially the position they're in mid-zone. Let's see what happened to Teeny, Skivvi, and Harist, though. How they're able to kind of find some of these eliminations.
refresh.
Marius, Pixie, are also staring down Skyjump, Momsy, and Shakos, who overtook the position that we had just seen Chap's team in. That's part of the benefits of getting those eliminations. But they're looking at teams from both directions, and they forgot entirely about the one on low. Loki and Monet reminding Marius not to hold those edits open for too long. As now, Medius, it seems like they're really just trying to follow where the lobby focus is at, but they don't have time to pick and choose. They've just got to get things going because they need more damage. They're currently sitting 57 below.
And that decision is being made. The triple Oni mask is going to come through. The
Ma două
aggression
echipe
is
fără
going to begin
search.
as Marius now looks for an opening inside
Hai
of
să
the box,
vedem.
but he's got to be careful on the side of the ridge. He's getting stuck, forced to pop a shield fish. Has to regroup with his team now, but he's already lost Vanya. Pixie's had a bit of time to recuperate his shield. Now putting themselves 272 above, but at what cost?
Having already lost Vanya, Pixie, and Medius, no. Medius doesn't even have any shields. It's still a fight that he's probably got to commit to. I drop Sky and Scroll, they're in some trouble here because they don't have a whole lot of material to work with, and Sky just continuing to be a threat.
Marius gonna find a knock though. They're continuing as a duo to make something happen. Not only have they put themselves above Surge, but now even picked up an elimination. It's possible. It's not easy, but it definitely is. The issue is only 100 HP, no shields to work with. Not even sure if Pixie has anything. Already getting tagged. Now they know that Marius doesn't have shield. It opens up kind of an option for that trio that took a shot onto them to play even more aggressive.
At the very least, though, Marius has so much material. He might not have shield, but if he can pinpoint any solo, any sort of duo lagging behind, even a trio, they look like they're in a chalk position. It's something that Pixie and Marius are probably going to have to just commit to because they need some form of a shield refresh. They have to hope that there's goodies on those bodies should that occur, but Malibuka walks ping. They don't have as much surge as what we've been familiar to seeing them work with, but at the same time, Takata, they've got a pretty decent position, and they're making sure that they don't stay in the focal point of the rest of the lobby.
This is a surprise, though. Veno, Vico, Flixie below Surge, being forced to kind of take these aggressive trades back and forth. Triple sprays both onto them and their opponents. Now Veno and Flixie has been cracked. Vico just a shot away. They do have the loot, the chug splashes, the water sprite, but they're deciding we got to make something happen. Either pre-edit, either go on in, replace the wall, anything we possibly can to open up at least an elimination or a bit more damage. But with the zone closing, the pressure is on.
Look, if there's ever a team I would never want to be desperate for Surge, it's this one because they definitely got the fighting power to match it. Veno, though, teleporting doesn't get punished despite clipping that wind from underneath Shogun's arena. Still, he needs to find tags. His whole team knows that their fate in this lobby depends exclusively upon whether or not they can actually get this knock onto Malibuka. They need as much damage as possible. And finally, Vico providing a little bit of relief, cutting that gap all the closer to being above that threshold.
But you gotta be careful. Flixie's been knocked as well. It's all up to Veno and Vico to make something happen. The knock's gonna come through onto Ping. Can they take out the second place team on the leaderboard? Or all our top three trios about to go down? It's all up to Veno. He's left alone as a solo.
No shield, no whites. Veno from this position would have to be a miracle player. And he's not the only one that's stuck in it. Walks also using his last splash, trying to just work his way down, but he drops straight into the box of a healthy trio. And that's going to be the end of his run in Lobby 3.
This is an opening, though, for all of the other trios that were on that lower to mid half of the leaderboard, especially if Veno isn't able to make it out of this one. Oni Mask is going to come through, going to rebuild in wood. His last base might find an opening off the sky here. Some shots come through, but not enough to get a knock. Now the rotates are continuing as Veno is doing what he can to stay up, but as Monet comes from the back end, has to be careful, and Veno is going to go down.
Mongrel pe high ground, n-am visat asta niciodată.
A team in what builds, they never stood a chance. Mongrel, MrSavage on height for the first time here today, Takata. But those builds looking a little bit slim here. Sky on the other hand, a solo with 12 HP, 16 builds left to his name, and just blindly teleporting, hoping that he doesn't get clipped in the process.
Just one shot is all it's going to take down Sky. The issue is This is such a perfect match to make a comeback when all the top trios are down, but when you're left at 12 HP, I mean, you've got damage, but you're missing everything else. Marius as well. Everybody's going down. It's looking like a solo FNCS. As Sky is doing what he can to stay up, forced to drop down, play backside of zone. But with trios knowing that he's close by, it's only a matter of time until Sky has to make a play here.
This might have just been a gift from above, though, and it's gonna be claimed. Sky will at least take the loot. And now Hyjo, another not body, but Sky, he can't afford to stick around. He can't afford to get more of that cycle materials because he's got to make his way up the hill. He can't afford to get stuck, and instead it's gonna be the storm that claims his life.
Hold on, though. Fan favorite trio up above in the clouds is Panzer, Mongrel, MrSavage. This is the match that they want to end big on. 72 points, but all it takes is one victory royale to boost them back up. All the top trios are down. It's everything on the line. Adam has to be careful, though, as he's looking for a chop down, and shots are continuing to come through.
Nebs as well, continue to work through this secondary height. He's got Chino and Pink right behind him. They know that there's a team up above. They're looking for their opportunity to see if they can get a chomp. They don't have the material necessarily to immediately build up onto height, but at the very least, they can still look to cause some disastrous claims there to MrSavage's game. Teeny all the while, just looking to try and survive.
31 HP, 10 builds as it continues to drop down. Last 3 builds to work with a full trio jumping into Teeny's box. What can you do? As Shxrk, Nako left as a duo. They've got 5 eliminations. They pushed themselves ahead of zone. Now with the refresh, not only do they get that no, it's actually Kire. It's their teammate. I didn't even realize they're about to be a full trio on low.
The fact that they went for the double revive.
Dacă Mongrel nu face win, e o dezamăgire totală.
Almost anything can happen for this team, but Pix, Darm, some really big up-and-comers. Can they manage to Polska Guram their way to a victory royale here? Now it's gonna be CZB caught in the crossfire. Nathan soon to follow directly behind them. Pix, Darm, they're still alive. Ultimate low, but it might ultimately belong to them.
It might be their first major finals, but they said put some respect on our names as they go for high ground.
Nu te cred că pierd. Nu pierd.
46 HP there. Aggression's onto Pix, but he gets knocked down. It's now a 2 versus 1.
Dacă pierde.
All up against Darm as a solo. Can they clean this one out? They have every advantage to their name, but with the big coming through, Darm is gonna go down, and Panzer, MrSavage, and Mongrel are gonna take home game 3.
And this is the level of execution that MrSavage, everybody should be celebrating right now. Seeing Mongrel, Savage, and Panzer on top.
7 builds. I'm gonna build.
Nu zici că... Nu zici că se joacă, zici că se uită.
I have 12 bullets, AR. 2v2. Look that kid in zone. No. It's 2v2, 7. TP. We got. We go for another guy. 80. 100. Above us. Dead. Nice. Get meds. I don't med kid below you. Come here, Panzer, come here.
I'm getting meds.
It's a 2v1 show. I'm smashing. Nice!
Come on, boys!
Let's fucking go, baby! Let's go.
Come on!
Da, și nu sunteți buni. Mi-am pierdut timpul.
For sure, got to be set on track to beat out that record of an 8th place finish. But only time will tell whether or not that holds true here, Takata. For now, we're gonna have to leave it to Frankie, Levin, and Minimine to tell us what went down in Game 3.
Thank you so much. And Takata, you're just going to have to wait a little bit longer for us to get the leaderboard ready for you. But in the meantime, we can talk about what happened in the end game. Because I have to say, at the start of that game, we were in our virtual green room. We were going, I haven't seen Mongrel, Savage and Panzer for a while. And it turned out we just had to look up. And there they were, just waiting to grab the victory royale, Levin.
Just perfect timing from us, but what a game that was from them. Mongrel, Savage up on hype, Panzer leading the charge as well. I mean, this is what the fans want to see. Let's be honest. I don't care about all that other riff-raff, Venno and queezing them. Show me Mongrel winning games in FNCS, throwing it back to Chapter 2 Season 4. It feels like Fortnite's healing. We're back. This is what we want to see, Mini.
It really is. I mean, I'm super happy for these guys managing to pick up a victory royale. The way they did it as well, we literally spoke about it at the beginning of the day. Get the island, save the materials, get your surge, get all the loot on the island that you get from it, and then there you go. You're up on height, which is exactly what this team managed to do. They saved so much from being up there, and then of course took height at a perfect moment. Couldn't be more happy for these guys managed to pick up a victory royale. And yeah, as you mentioned, Frankie, we haven't really seen them much throughout the rest or the beginning of the day. So let's see what they can do for the rest of the day.
So, Minnie, they had a game where everything went right for them. How much of these victory royales is therefore down to luck, and how much is down to just sheer excellence?
Well, I mean, it's a battle royale, so it's not necessarily no luck involved, but you're going to put yourself in the position to get into the best position possible, right? If you get that island, you get in that position, you're going to have the best chance of winning, and that's exactly what we've seen from Mongrel, MrSavage, and Panzer right there. I just want to see some of our bigger names, I guess, more sort of Queasies, Venos, people like that going up for this island, because we haven't seen it yet.
Well, we saw quite the mid-game, should we say, and we'll be discussing what exactly happened and who went down after this short break.
M-am plictisit, de ce? Hai să dăm leaderboard-ul. Fix cine să ăștia pe primul loc. Merstași pe locul 2, au scăzut. Ăștia nu știu nimeni pe 3. Marius a crescut pe 4. Tine a crescut pe 5. Veno a scăzut pe 8, Malibuca pe 9, ăștia nu mai știu cum erau, ăștia vor ca pe 11 și zAndy e pe 23. Iseti pe ultimul. De la cât începe placement-ul? 17. Hai mă. Dați așa chat să văd ceva. Știa mai cineva pe live, de curiozitate, dacă mai are rost să țin live-ul sau nu. Bă, frumos, un glonț de fiecare, o chestie de fiecare tip.
Hello, welcome back to FNCS Europe. This is a moment for me where I have to eat some humble pie, and that's why I'm stumbling over my words right now, because I have to look these boys in the eye and say that we underplayed the excellence of Mongrel, Savage and Panzer, because yes, the game plan worked out for them, but they fought for that island 11-2K and they won it fair and square, even if they didn't actually beat the Shxrk. Can you just clarify this for us?
Yeah, so yeah, no, I didn't like how you guys just made it seem like they just got it for free and nobody tried to take it. There was another team that actually went up there and tried to take island from them. They just forced them off of it. You know, Mongrel, Savage, Panzer, they were like, no, this is our island. None of you can get up here and take it. The thing is though, with that sort of like back and forth, a bit of a stalemate on the island, nobody actually took down the Shogun boss. So there's a point where the team leaves the island and they're still up there, and Shogun's just like firing away those fire masks towards those guys. But they held off and they held high and they win the game, and I'm very, very happy for my boys.
Yeah, and there is nothing about this Victory Royale to do with the fact that a lot of our big name trios didn't have the best surge in E minor.
Yeah, we didn't get to see a lot of our big names in there, right? We saw a lot of our names that we maybe expect to be looking good on Surge, looking in a good situation. I mean, we saw that with Veno's team. We saw that with Vanya's team as well. Just teams that have been performing well so far today and have been getting to these end games. They struggled. And I know Malibuka's team is another one of those as well. They just didn't have that Surge done early. And it just shows how difficult it really can be for some of our teams here, because the meta 11, the way that people get a Surge is so different depending on the teams, and if you're below, it's so difficult to then catch up.
No, honestly, like I feel like we always get games like this in, like, you know, grand finals here in EU, where like there'll just be the one game where like a lot of the big names, the big hitters just aren't there. And like it was funny because we sort of like, you know, pinged around, the observers are showing us every single different like one of these big teams, and every single one of them below, you know, just trying to solo cuts, trying to like do something, a shambles game. And I think it just goes to show how tough these lobbies are when it comes to the Surge thresholds. You're having to do so much damage. Your little early game fight that you're doing near your POI isn't enough. You have to be getting and accumulating damage all throughout the early and mid game to be in a comfortable spot. And speaking of comfortable spots, something I don't think anybody was expecting to see. Pix Dom Demas leading the way. It's only been 3 games, I know. But come on, a team playing in their first major finals, leading the charge here in EU. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you spoke about breaking the record earlier on, Levin. How about they just completely demolished it by coming first place in this FNCS Grands? And the way that this is looking, it's looking really strong for them. The way that they're able to play these low ground layers, we sort of spoke about it earlier, the way that they're able to sort of bounce off each other in endgame and make sure that they can pick up eliminations, whilst also staying consistent as well. They're making the end games, which is really nice to see. And they have that uncontested, powerful drop spot. Of course, they didn't make it all the way in this game. Of course, they didn't end up picking up a victory, but keep doing that throughout the day, and that's going to really benefit them.
We need to do a really quick check-in, boys, because I did speak to Nikov from Gentle Mates earlier. If you want to witness him and the likes of Gataga from the Mates chatting, they're streaming on Gataga's channel right now. We've got some good news for those boys and for all their fans watching, because they are 3 for 3 in the Osborne battle versus Camiseti and Chari. Nikov said, just wait. And I have to say, I didn't really believe him. But Mini Minor, I was wrong.
Yeah, and as was I in terms of my expectations of how this fight was going to go. I'm sure a lot of people would say the exact same. This is, I mean, this is not how things were supposed to go from the perspective of Cami, Seti, and Shari, but this is the dream start for Podesai, Kira, and Xweez. They just absolutely dominated so far. That fight right there took a little bit longer, which resulted in a third party coming on in, but Levin, they're just absolutely dominating so far.
Podesai went huge there. What a performance for him to clutch up, because they were down 2v3, expecting Cami and Seti to finally get that win off Spawn. Podesai said, no. Like my manager Nikov said, wait and see.
Wait and see. You know what also I really wish we had was Levin's reaction face during that fight, because I could hear him and I could just imagine it, and it was like...
Bro, s-a auzit un copil în background.
Kick-off game number 4, Attack on Takata, take it away.
Se aude un copil în background.
Takata, we have definitely never seen the stakes be higher already in day 1 here, the Major 1 final. So many of our big hitters looking to maintain their entry points inside of match 4.
Oh yeah, like you said, they kind of got knocked down a little bit, and a first-time major finals trio is leading the pack, right? We're just halfway through, and already so much has happened. Off-spawn engagements are going crazy. Will Cami, Seti, and Cherry be able to come out on top this time around? Let's see as we get into game 4.
You ever think that part of the success for Demas' team at this point is that they just essentially space jammed away the other Polish trio's powers? Like Cami, Seti, and Shari, we know that they've got more in the tank, but hey, at the same time here, Takata, big moments for sure coming out of Podesai, specifically for France.
Oh yeah, no, even in the last game, I mean, Darm had no materials and he was reloading his pump shotgun. So when he opened the edit, he couldn't cover himself. He couldn't even take a shot. I saw some 1v2 happening in one of the dimensions that end game was played out. But we go back to the off-spawn engagement at Seaport City. Swizzy starting off strong with some shots getting connected, but quickly enough, Shxrk with the slide is going to knock him down. MrSavage put in a 2 versus 1 from being knocked out at the start of last match. If it happens once again, a repeat, this could be devastating for their place on the leaderboard.
But MrSavage, he's got the HP. The problem though, Queasy stuck in the air off of this kinetic blade. Shxrk getting the better end of this exchange, but he's got MrSavage right behind him. Queasy trying to follow through with the Oni pump and not gonna manage to find it just yet. But MrSavage, what a teammate, what a backup play, because Queasy might have been toast otherwise. Granted, Queasy might still be in a whole world of trouble here though, Takata.
It's not over yet. Gonna use the kinetic blade to get out, but he has to be careful. Chug splashes were found, recuperate a bit of that lost HP as MrSavage continues to take shots, and it looks like he has knocked down Shxrk. So once again, it looks like they're gonna battle this out in a 2v2.
Queasy hoping for the best here. For MrSavage trying to buy him just a little bit more time to get that rotate through. If they can at least find that elimination onto Shxrk's, that would force the clean 2 versus 2 here. But Queasy, he's still unable to find an angle just yet. Gets right behind Momsy though. MrSavage with the ultimate distraction factor here. MrSavage, he might pay the price still. 1 versus 2. This is all looking in Queasy's favor. And sure enough, MrSavage, Queasy, they've got time to work with here. They know Shxrk is out of the picture entirely.
Oh yeah, they get that siphon. Skyjump now on a sliver of HP. All it's gonna take is 1 bullet to connect as MrSavage looks for an angle, but actually he's gonna go for the reboot. He says, you know what, we have time now. Skyjump doesn't have heals. He has to recuperate. We're gonna take this time to bring Swizzy back in the game, make it a 3 versus 1, and increase those odds of winning this off-spawn engagement to the maximum.
Now Skyjump could still look to be a nuisance here. Instead, it could be iDrop and Sky and Scroll who look to ultimately capitalize on this fight taking place here at Seaport City. Queasy trying to put up a front, trying to put up some defensive measures, but he just doesn't have enough left over from that first exchange. He's gonna have to fall back.
Yeah, I mean, they have this in mind as well. I drop Sky and Scroll. It takes them a minute and 30 seconds after the drop to start third-partying Seaport. They get there so quickly with the drop spot they have that it kind of shows the danger of taking too long to finish that Seaport City fight. But the good news is they saw the reboot come through. They know it's a full trio, and now the third party is kind of a little bit riskier. So they're just going to take those pop shots as usual. As we look at what happened by Lost Lake, it looks like, Taco, am I seeing this once again?
Iarăși au murit ăștia.
Cameron Seti going down to Podosai Akira and X-Squeeze. 4 for 4.
That's got to be devastating to the mental, but
no
time left to think about it because Clownsky, Moneymaker, Gudenbri caught in a box fight all their own. Clownsky, see if he can fall back.
Help
out Moneymaker, but Moneymaker might not need the help based off how he just found that last elimination so cleanly. Instead, it's going to be the third party out of Nathan and CZB that are the real threat here. Moneymaker forced to retreat back into these builds. Eclipse, though, already closing in, already getting the overhead angle. CZB Nathan as well perched and potentially looking to cut off every single avenue of escape.
Yeah, you saw them think about it. They were like positioned up to play aggressive here. They had all angles cut off, but they're like, you know, they're most likely full shield, full HP. It's gonna take a while. It's a little risky. And it looks like the disengage did come through as Eclipse got cracked by a whole other trio. Hopefully he is gonna be able to get out though as he's regrouped with CZP. ZZB now a bit of time to recuperate that shield, but the shots are still coming through.
Knowing that it's Upple's team, though, applying pressure.
Oh, no.
Scroll. Queasy. This is so problematic. And Scroll does get that first elimination onto Queasy, which now leaves Swizzy, MrSavage to fend for themselves. But iDrop, he's already gotten huge tags. He knows MrSavage's shields are low, that he doesn't have a whole lot of HP to work with. And it's just a battle of attrition at this stage.
All players split up. Swizzy left alone. as MrSavage did what he could to escape. I drop Sky and Scroll continuing with their third party. I think Skyjump ended up getting eliminated, but he was up there a second ago. As now they have to decide, do we continue the hunt here? Where is MrSavage hiding? I mean, if MrSavage, it looks like he is going to be able to get out, but even so, this is going to be a long match for them.
Yeah, because now Comic Blaha Mixon
drawn
towards Seaport after witnessing everything go down, considering how close they
Te
are.
duci third party și mori.
This is a really easy route of approach here, and iDrop going to be the one trying to scramble through these buildings. Scroll as well. This Danish trio, Takata, has just been left in absolute shambles because of how long things drew out, trying to find those eliminations against Queasy's team. And sure, they might have gotten one of them, but at the same time, leaving yourself susceptible to all these third-party opportunities, everyone in the area just seems to now be local.
It's just back to back to back. They can't catch a break. The trio's dropping at Seaport. But in the meantime, we have Yanis, Noah, Rayleigh, and Chap, who are up against the Spanish trio, who are doing quite well. Shout out to them in 7th place. Coming from this drop spot, as you can see, it's just full pressure onto them from all the trios that drop in the surrounding area. Chap looking for angles. Yep. Haruko looking to see what he can do.
Noah Riley has really been a firepower stick-out figure for Yanis's trio, though. But lurking ever close nearby, Teeny could be an absolute menace. Both of these teams seem completely oblivious to the fact that he's just lurking nearby.
Yeah, the issue is, like you said, so much potential for not a third party, a 4th or 5th party in this situation right as this battle ends. As Chap now looking to play aggressive with that crack onto Gide. Forced to use the chug splashes, angles onto Noah as he gets cracked as well, but the pressure's on. Chap looking to get full on into the box. Pickaxe comes through, needs to get the replays as they take down Gide, and now leaving Haruko all alone on the high ground, and Teeny, Skavi, and Harris still playing patiently.
Oh no, Chap, he tries to work his way back up to height, but that was the moment that Teeny, and Ski were waiting for. Chap now a victim after having just opened up this last fight with an elimination of his own. But everybody else looking to just bail from this position here, Takata. They recognize the fact things are on fire, essentially, on this cliff face. We do not want to be a part of it.
No, this is like a code red for any trio here. You do not want to be here right now, as Yanis doing what he can to escape, but it's Cryfalls and his trio trying to catch up to him. Noah, Yanis, they're gonna have to have quite a comeback if they want to make something happen in this match.
The amount of material that they just expended, the amount of time it's going to take to get that reboot in the first place. So many questions left to be answered for whether or not they can actually overcome. Still, Team's team probably happy. MrSavage, on the other hand, finally scooped up with the rest, just kind of swept clean there out of Seaport City. What once looked like a very optimal start there for Queasy's team is now starting to work against them, because that's part of the adaptations that other teams are going to make inside of a Major 1 final set lobby here, Takata. Teams are just going to recognize exactly what kind of fights others are taking and look to just pick them apart for it.
Yeah, and this is now the second game back-to-back where Queasy, Swizzy, and MrSavage have gone down so early into the match. They were looking so strong. I mean, MrSavage having won every single Major 1 finals on EU in the last 2 years, wanting to do it once again, but now they have this hurdle where they just can't get off spawn. They just can't get out of Seaport alive, and now hopefully, you know, if they're able to do it more, once they get to those end games, they've been performing. It's just getting to them now off the early game is just too difficult.
Wow, this is a deep chase from Teeny's team. Full commitment onto Noah Riley even. My man is out out in the ocean. Still getting chased, still fighting back as well. He's at least gonna make sure that Aether's works for it. No, O'Reilly might not have shield, but he's still got a pump. He's still got damage to offer. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the numbers. Teeny will get that knock. Yanis still somewhere nearby though, having just managed to escape.
I don't know if it's even nearby at this point, Taco. He's gone. He's left as they're on the edge of zone, now forced to make their way back. We take a look at Veno, Vico, Flixie. Now, this is huge for this trio. Having one of their top competitors gone down so early, this opens up that option, that opportunity for them to now overthrow them on the leaderboard. Starting with 3 eliminations themselves, this could kind of be the start. But
Nice, you
know, you never know. We still got Demus up there. We still got Pix, Darm. If they have another big game, it's gonna be hard.
For sure, but we also know that Vico, Veno, and Flixie, they've got
zAndy
cap
view.
mats on just about everyone. They've
Cred că și-a schimbat
got
locația.
very strong amount
Nu l-am
of
mai
shields
văzut.
and whites to work with.
Meciul
And
ăsta.
those launch pads are going to help them cover the ground and help them just dictate which part of the dead side rotation do they actually want to pursue. There's also still high
Mamă,
odds
ce
of them
lumină
being
e
able to
aici.
get eliminations from teams going for reboots as well. As Rizoi hoping to shut down that dream for Moneymaker. Doesn't want to allow Gudenbry or Clownski a chance to fight back.
Uh-oh, shots are gonna come through by Noms. Not going full aggressive though. They've already gotten cracks, but they're not just committing instantly to that fight. They're not going for a triple spray. They're not going for a pre-edit. They're continuing to take angles even though they have that advantage. It kind of makes me think that they're just playing it a little extra safe. They're a little scared. They don't want to go down here. As now Guden is looking to see if he can maybe find an angle onto Gripey, onto Rizoi. Is there any option he can take here? But once he breaks that tree, they're gonna know. As Gripey quickly turns his eyes towards him, and now it's turned into more of a stale 3v3.
But something that I've noticed here at Takata is that neither of these teams seem to be looking back at where they just came from, out of Magic Mosses. And keep in mind, Venom's team, they're pushing south. They might actually stumble upon this little engagement taking place here. And if
Cred că sunt mai mulți playeri în
is not
zonă
able
decât
to
în
focus
zonă.
out those elims
S-a înțeles ce am
sooner
vrut să
rather than
zic.
later, they're gonna be forced to deal with a third-party scenario.
Speaking about storm engagements,
Bro,
though, Chino might have an angle here, forced to break down the ramp, but not gonna have an opening. As now looks like a regroup back to Nebs and Pink. As I don't know if they're gonna want to fully commit to this fight, but looking at our #1 trio in terms of the leaderboard, Darn, Pix, and Demus are now in not the best of situations, as Demus has been knocked down and fully eliminated. So I'm not sure if they are going to be looking for a reboot or if this is something that kind of happened recently, but it looks like Mix and Blaha and Comeback are going to be the ones on the other end.
Surprising that Mix and Blaha and Comeback haven't opted to just immediately full key Darm or Pix underneath them. So almost want to assume that they're not even aware of the fact that Pix is lurking in this manner. He does have that Void Onimask to try and teleport to safety. But if Comeback, Blaha, and Mixon actually want to commit to the chase, Pix might not have any other options here, because Darm just trying to hold down a separate angle. Pix, though, brave in his own right, still willing to commit. He's directly at the bottom of their surge base, but it's a triple TP to his teammate, and he knows that Darm's in a world of trouble.
Yeah, now it's going to be all about that regroup, taking shots back onto Mixon, Blaha, and Comeback to try and stop them from their aggression onto Darm, but Darm is doing what he can to stay up. They've spotted Pix now. Onimask is going to get pre-placed back above. Are they going to go back to high ground? Are they going to continue chasing Darm? As Pix is doing what he can to maintain his elevation. Now with his, I'm going to say duo, his other teammate that's still up, basically left him at this point. He most likely is going to be forced to regroup, but he could maybe take a bit of damage as he has to be careful. The shots come through. Pix is cracked and now is forced to play inside the storm.
This is so cooked for Pix. If anything, he might have just gone up and kicked the hornet's nest with that last play commitment, but definitely respect the effort when you're in these types of duo circumstances, going for that sneak approach, maybe trying to turn tides in your favor. They didn't really have a whole lot of other options here, Takata, but being forced this far back into Storm, they know that there's going to be other teams inside of the zone, position based up in much stronger positions, and making a play for basically even a decent entry point is going to be incredibly tough. Not to mention other teams still lurking nearby.
Oh no, they know too. Nefrizzi saw picks rotating, but he gets the water sprite just in time to recuperate the HP and keep himself in the game. Darm now applying that pressure onto the aggressors, getting them out of the sight and hopefully giving Pix a bit of time to reboot Demas back into the game. That was a little too close for comfort.
One thing that Darm and Pix certainly have going for them is their fighting capabilities. Darm and Demas especially, the fact that they're going to be able to once again run things down as a full trio could be a scary sight for some of our other teams that are looking to try and ensure that they're not maintaining their current first place position on the leaderboard. Granted, it's not about how you start the day, it's about how you finish, especially when there's 2 days of games worked through here. So I really think that Demas is fully aware of the fact that he's gonna have to take some time to get some better weapons online and hope that they can still maintain the same sort of firepower behind it.
Yeah, I mean, they have that motivation, that fire behind them from being in first place currently, and it's huge that they were able to get that reboot. I mean, just from 1 HP literally to recuperating it into now having your full trio up and running, a bit of time to recuperate mats. All it really takes now is 1 refresh, 1 elimination to put themselves back into the game. And from the confidence we've been seeing with a great pistol, it might be the time where they look for
distruge pe ăștia cu pistolul. Fiți atenți.
They don't have a choice. They have to take this fight. Nefrizzi looking incredibly
Eu v-am
low,
zis,
and
am
sure enough,
murit.
Pix is
Da,
getting knocked again,
e
but
2
Darm
pe 1.
making sure
Sau
that
2 pe
it
2.
is for good measure. Rakuzen also trying to escape here, but Lusha is going to be the one that shuts down this dream here for Poland. Rakuzan and Lusha do survive, but it comes at a pretty heavy cost, losing Nefrizzi there.
Too many pump shots were missed, but Teeny is gonna end up picking off Noah Riley as well. Now putting this trio at 6 eliminations. This is a non-stop back-to-back.
This is some devious work by Teeny's trio, though. The fact that they would chase Yanis out to follow up on his reboot for his teammates. Noah Riley getting elim by the same team back-to-back is just so tough, and sure enough, Atris just reviewing what went south here for Yanis's trio. Only this time around, there were actually no survivors.
Yeah, and I mean, not only that, when they eliminated Noah, it was on the edge of the map in the water. Like, they basically took out a fisherman, but doing it twice, like you said, absolutely devious. But hey, those are some extra points on the board now for Haristini and Skavi. 3rd place, as you can see. But what I'm kind of thinking of in the back of my head now is we got Venno with an invisibility now from this medallion. They've got 721 damage above the Storm Surge threshold. They've already got eliminations. They're on the Rift Island. They have prime position, and their main competitor for high ground is out of the match. So this is free pickings for this trio if they continue forwards into this end game.
And with the way that the zone is pulling, it's definitely doing them some NRX solids here, but granted, there's other teams that are also looking to try and keep match 4 going. Nevs, Chino, Pink having to expend the last of Nevs' shield.
Cum au ăștia baza
just to
asta
prevent the
și
surge damage
sunt
from
below?
continuing to tick away at his HP bar, but Trulex just underneath. Trulex, Tayson, and Chicho as well. They're a team that the desk and us, Takata, we're kind of just waiting to see, are they going to get, you know, as fraggy as some of these other teams, they kind of need it at this point, because if you want a winning game, you're going to have to find eliminations, those consistent refreshes. As far as Chink, Pink, and Nevs are concerned, Chino just knows that it is going to be so tough here.
Yeah, the issue is it sucks, these situations where you're so close, you're just like 1 to 2 shots by the threshold.
M-am murit.
and you're just not able to do it. Pink goes down to Surge. They don't want to play aggressive because they're so close, but the issue is after Pink got eliminated, all his tags are now gone as well. Puts them 137 below. Now with Chino going down 194 below, and Nebs is left alone. I don't even know how much below the Storm Surge threshold. Our previous game winners as well. Mongrel has gone down, leaving Panzer and MrSavage to play it out as a duo. It's just,
zAndy.
I mean, this is tragic, Taco.
This looks exactly like how you'd imagine for a lobby that's suffering from having dealt with Veno's team in control of that Shogun's arena, though. Everyone just kind of smothered to the low ground. Veno's team in prime position on the front side of zone already. Nebs just hoping to remain as concealed as possible. He at least has a decent amount of builds to work with, but when you're a solo in these types of circumstances and you're 368 and it just keeps growing and growing away from you as far as the damage threshold is concerned, Nebs, he's gonna have to just hope that this small fry make it. It can maybe buy him a little bit more placement, but things are looking pretty grim.
Yeah, dark for Nebs right now. He needs some shining light, something, anything, but unable to get it. Is gonna go down. In the meantime, we have Skavi and Haris here fishing up to recuperate that desperate need of shield, of heals. But the issue is the storm's already closing. In 45 seconds, it's going to be fully closed, so they don't have time to keep on fishing. They have to force a rotate here without even being able to recuperate all their shield and HP. But Panzer, on the other hand, looks like is going to pick up a knock. Good amount of chug splashes, good amount of materials. They can make something happen even though they're a duo here.
The problem, though, with where they're trying to like blindly TP through, there's just so much congestion having already pulled on these edges of zone. Panzer, though, does have a whole lot of splashes. His inventory's at least got 7 to work with here, so they can afford to just tank a little bit of storm damage if need be to continue boxing up in better position to comparison to the rest of the lobby, but they can't play immediate frontside. They're just trying to remain a little bit more concealed here.
As now the next zone has appeared, this is where you want to be as quick as possible to plan your potential rotates, as Pixie now is going to make a play for height. His potential rotate is maintaining high ground, it might seem, as they're ahead of the storm here, looking to see if they can hold on to it. Vanya, Marius, Pixie looking to get a big game here.
Middle ground, though. Malabuka's team just steady waiting for an
Nu mai știu, a
opening.
murit Quizy.
Sky, eye drop, and scroll, though, from the low front. They're trying to just make sure they can claim as much space as possible. 2 boxes wide currently, but Sky knows it's going to take more than just a setup in the low ground. They're going to need those elimination refrags to come through as Veno, Flixie, Vico, we know how much they love to chop height. They've got to have it in their sights.
I see it. I see Veno already looking up. He wants to constantly be aware of how that high ground's looking. They're ahead of zone. They have enough materials to play it, but the issue is high ground looks so healthy. They need to find an efficient shot here, and while they take that time, you got Vico, you got Flixie fragging out in the backside of the tarp here, picking up refreshes to continue their dominance in terms of materials, everything needed to retake the height later on here.
Meanwhile, Savage just trying to stay as close-knit to Panzer as possible. They know that they can't afford to split for even a second. Otherwise, they're going to end up like Svi, just getting picked apart in the sky, still managing to hold on just barely, but it's just not going to be enough here, Takada. If he wants to really break through, he needs a refrag, and currently he's forced to play backside with Atris.
And look how high up in the sky Vanya, Marius, and Co are playing. MrSavage, though, now left alone as a solo. 1 elim on the board, looking to make it more. 27 H or shield to work with. Right now, he has to play backside of zone. He has to be careful. He can't go too far ahead. He doesn't have the loot to do so. It's just scavenging as many placements as possible and trying to find other solos that are also scuffed on the new materials to pick off and get that refresh from. The issue is there's just so many duos. There's so many trios close by that it might be hard to find an opening on a solo, but he's doing a great job of riding the back of the wave.
You just gotta hope that nobody spots him out, because MrSavage only having 4 builds left. Takada, it's almost like he's pickaxing to his own demise here soon enough. Spots the fact that Malabuka is more than healthy enough, trying to just get ahead of the player that pushed up directly behind him. And Savage, one more time, bunkering away in the underground, but it's still just so much left before everything is going to completely close out in this lobby.
Skyscroll as a duo now, maintaining this kind of mid layer, as they're gonna have to be careful
No,
because the pressure from above will eventually come. As the chaos continues to unfold down below, Nefrizi, Lucia, Starkus trying to see if
Mamă,
they
ce
can
s-au
get
băgat
any
toți
shoes
trei în
to play
bush.
inside the bush. It's gonna be a perfect opportunity to take shots onto Veno, to take shots onto Vigo, Flixie, as they've already been cracked. Flixie left with a sliver of HP as Veno does a great job tarping ahead.
Still, though, the fact that Flixie's up and running means that this trio is still as threatening as ever. Lucia also pays the price for giving away their position in terms of where they were shooting from. The Freezy will be the first to fall as well, and so many teams just encountering Veno in the low ground. Rakuzan, that's the problem with the Invis medallion. You never see it coming.
Malabuka, Ping, continuing as a duo. They look to chop down high, but they know it's a full trio. They might just have to make the decision to drop down low, but the issue is down low, it's the beasts that are hungry for more. Pixie, Vanya start dropping down, start opening angles here, looking to see if they can get some damage, get some extra eliminations before they look to close it out. But Veno has the invisibility medallion. He goes on up. He takes out Pixie. He hits Vanya. He takes him out as well. Is he going to close it off in a 1 versus 3? Veno, are you serious?
Veno is simply built different. That is exactly why he always takes command of this Invis medallion. He's not the only one. Vico also making sure to light things up in the elimination feed. Marius gonna be the last to be claimed. And Veno, in one more time, another victory royale here on the day, Takada, as if the first one wasn't good enough.
Are you serious? All odds were not in their favor against them. They didn't have height. They didn't have the heal off. Nothing, but they were still able to recover, recuperate, eliminate player after player, stop the heal off, and secure the victory royale. This is why this trio has so much hype going into the EU finals.
Absolutely disgusting. From the moment that they got that double revive off onto Flixie, you could never count them out. Even if it was just Veno and Vico, you still can never count them out. An absolute showing from Veno and Vico to confirm this victory royale here. What a game. Desk, what do you got to say?
I've got to say that I don't trust being around Veno ever again, because he might have an invisibility medallion and just pop out of nowhere. That was madness, Levin. They got the island, they didn't get the hype, they did get the victory royale.
That was disgusting. Like, this is what this guy can do. I mean, you look over the past year or so, I know things were hard when he was playing duos with Tayson, and then he went to Clicks and they had their struggles, but I really feel like, a lot of people forgot like who this guy really is. Of course, he's playing with Vico, he's playing with Flixie. They've shown us in recent seasons how capable they are, but never sleep on Veno. Never forget what that guy is capable of. I mean, that is just ridiculous way to end that game and to win it 2v3.
Yeah, I've been so impressed with how Veno has brought some stability to this team, some IGLing ability, and some stability, just steady the ship in terms of what Vico and Flixie are able to do. But what a lot of people forget, and I think what we're being reminded of right now, is how good he is as a mechanical player. He's the player that can quite literally do it all, and they've been doing it all today. Of course, they won on high earlier on, now winning now on the sort of low ground section of the game as well. It just seems like whenever these guys get into this end game, put themselves in a good position with good surge, they seem to find a really, really good game out of it. And that's 2 out of 2 games, Levin. The Island team managing to pick up the victory royale. So clearly another big element of the game.
It's not even just that, right? You know, my good brother Resub on X, you know, he made a post where the Island teams actually come second in the 2 games that it didn't win now. Yeah. So the record for the Island team is literally like second, first. Play for the Island and you will have a good game is what it's looking like right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. I mean, this was incredible as well. Just the sort of the height take and everything about this this clutch. Vico there at the end as well played such a great part. And an important element there, something that we broke down at the beginning, was that invisibility medallion. I don't think Benno would have eliminated Vanya if it wasn't for that medallion, because Vanya just didn't know where he was, trying to look in the box. Where is he? Next thing you know, you're on the ground knocked. So it's just so powerful, and that's what Benno does best.
And just last week, you guys were talking about the fact that the invisibility medallion and Venno is this match made in heaven. And we're going to talk more about what went down in that heavenly game number 4 after this break.
De ce a început să râdă? Haideți să vedem leaderboard-ul. Unde mouse-ul? Venau pe primul loc. Au scăzut pe 8. zAndy pe 14. Ăștia cred că închidem live aici. Că nu se uită nimeni. Nu se uită efectiv nimeni. Nu se uită. Cea mâine o să facem live iarăși, dar nu view party. Mai devreme, nu știu, o să vedem noi. Nu uitați să dați like, subscribe și Zeulika.